It is 10 o'clock. Welcome in. This is Three Man Front, Jocks 94.5. We have a split broadcast today. Myself, Conrad, and Molly high atop Red Mountain here on the facilities of Cumulus Broadcasting in Birmingham. As Molly is running ragged as she's trying to make sure that our video stream is up and running. Okay. She tells me we're good to go. Joining us live from San Antonio, Texas, my former hometown, Landrum Roberts. They're at the Gonzales Convention Center. How you doing, partner?
Hello, my family. How are you?
We're doing fantastic. How's everybody in Bexar County?
Everybody in Bexar is doing wonderful, Pat.
How dare you?
Everybody's great. No, everybody is great here in San Antonio. The temperature without the humidity, and I know we talked about that before I left, around 88, 89. I think it's gonna hit around 90 today. But walking from hotel to convention center is really not that bad. But I found myself having to dab off with a paper towel before I came in here to Radio Row because it looked like I just completed a 90-minute practice.
Well, let me tell you something. You look great. I've seen some of the social media stuff that Molly has been posted. So you look healthy. You look rested. I know it was kind of hectic you getting to San Antonio. Now we're trying to get your wife to San Antonio.
That is a deal.
That's a whole nother story that we'll probably spend multiple days next week talking about on this radio show.
At this point, if she ends up in the back of a rider van with a polka band, I would not be surprised. But good Lord willing and prayers for her flight. But she is in the air from Chicago right now to San Antonio. Apparently Dallas, they've closed. I don't know what's going on in Dallas. Anyways.
Landrum has got a lot going on there in San Antonio, and we're going to have an opportunity today to talk to the head basketball coach at Alabama State. He's going to be by in just a couple minutes. He played Auburn first round, so he's going to join us on the program. The new basketball coach at the University of Virginia, Ryan Odom, is going to stop by and talk with us. We will have our weekly conversation with Rodney Orr. How about the head basketball coach at Oklahoma, Porter Moser, is going to be on this program a little bit later. How about Danny Lynn from Mount St. Mary's? He's going to be on as well. We've got the play-by-play voice of the San Antonio Spurs is going to stop by. Rob Pate, the former Auburn DB. So we have got a loaded-up show as we get going on this Final Four Thursday. Just tell me about the buzz. I know you've already sent us some videos. You went by the Auburn Hotel and some other hotels there. What's the buzz around the streets of San Antonio? Well,
there's a lot going on in San Antonio being a big city. There's some people are like, oh, yeah, the Final Four's here. But when you start walking through Riverwalk and where the fan area is going to be, and I sent you a little bit of that video of some of the things they're going to have outside of Convention Center, and they have Fan Fest and all of that. There's pretty good buzz. Talking to some of the hotel people and other folks, today seems to be the day that a majority of the folks are going to be getting here. Of course, teams arriving, but as far as fans and other things, it's going to ramp up today. So today, all through, I'm guessing Monday night is when it really turns up.
So do they have the whole...
It's a fun scene, though.
So is the whole town decorated with... Because I know we've had some of our listeners that I guess made the trek out there yesterday. Is the whole town decorated in Final Four? Like when you walk in San Antonio, is it immediately apparent the Final Four is going on this weekend? These are the teams that are going to be here, or is it just kind of business as usual in San Antonio?
I wouldn't call it business as usual, Conrad, but not as much maybe as far as the signage and stuff that you might see in other areas. Now, it's really concentrated in a certain part of Riverwalk and here in San Antonio where we are. If you get within that radius of the Convention Center and, of course, the Alamo Dome's just down the street, then, yeah, it's very, very heavy. But outside of that, no, it's not like you see it on every single light stand that's there on the street. But, no, it's pretty good. It feels like you're out of Final Four.
Yeah, because you got the golf tournament there, right? The Valero Open.
Yeah, the Valero Texas Open is here as well, which has made it problematic for not only hotels and cars. And I talked to some Auburn fans last night, and they said that they had to get a room, I think, about 15 minutes outside of San Antonio, which is not that bad. But there's a lot of people here, and thank goodness for rideshare. And there's a lot of rideshare available. So it's not that bad from the airport. It's $17, $18 for the ride. So I would recommend that to our listeners who are heading out here.
So have you gotten a close-up of Janai Broom's elbow yet?
I've not gotten a close-up of Janai Broom's elbow. Okay. No.
We're waiting on that.
Yeah.
All right, so you told me you were going to go to bed pretty early last night. Did you have any plans? What did you do? Did you get a good meal? Did you kind of hang out? What did you do?
I did. So I went and I did the best I could by myself without having somebody to film that shot that I had on top of that the rooftop hotel. when I got here, when I got everything settled and kind of got my bearings. But I was really tired. Had the red eye yesterday morning, but I did have a meal, and it was really, really good. They had like a tapas type menu, something like you would get at the Bottomless Brunch at Social Taco this weekend from 10 to 2, Saturday and Sunday. But it was jalapeno poppers. And I love to do those, like smoke them on the grill. And you do the cream cheese inside and you wrap them with bacon. Well, these were halved. They had the cream cheese inside, but then they had some good old Texas brisket. And I think some pancetta might have been thrown in there and some micro cilantro to make it look pretty. And yeah, it was really, really good.
Fantastic. So,
and the guy told me, hey, it's happy hour, so you get happy hour prices. I was like, bonus.
What time did you go to bed?
8:15.
8:15?
Yeah,
okay.
Woke up at 12:30.
Okay.
And then went back to bed, woke up again at 3:45, and then woke up again at 5:45.
I mean, you're just like a kid in a candy store. You're just excited.
I'm really excited. Yeah. I went and got a good workout in and had a nice breakfast. The breakfast this morning, they said it's a European breakfast, so it was all fresh-cut meats. And they're actually shaving the prosciutto as I go down into the lobby. You had brie. You had 2 different types of Gouda.
Well, I mean, when you're staying at the Ritz-Carlton in downtown San Antonio, I understand you're going to get that kind of service.
Yeah. I didn't want to go caviar this morning, but no, the caviar, that was not an option. But it was really, really good.
All right, so while you were sleeping, Landrum, the Braves jumped out to a 5-0 lead against the Dodgers. And if you're listening to it on Jocks last night, with 1 out, games tied in the 9th inning, Shohei Ohtani came to the plate.
Well, they all came to see this man. It's Shohei Ohtani bobblehead night, and 50,000 plus in unison stand as he climbs into the left-hand batter's box. He's 2 for 4 in the game. Iglesias goes to work. First pitch swinging in a fly ball, deep center field. Michael Harris back to the wall. Michael leaps. It is gone. And on his bobblehead night, Shohei Ohtani dishes the Braves a crushing blow. It's a walk-off home run and an 0-7 road trip for the Braves.
Tough night on Jocks last night as the Braves lose their 7th in a row to start the season. Iglesias threw an 88.9 mile per hour changeup to Shohei Ohtani, and then it left the bat at 102.5 miles an hour at 31 degrees. It was lifted 395 feet into the Los Angeles air, and the Dodgers win. They remain undefeated. Braves, meanwhile, take a day off, and they get home on Friday.
Yeah, that would usually have more of an effect on me, but I'm already conditioned at this point, Pat. When you're 0-6, what's Shohei Ohtani with a walk-off breaking your heart? It's nothing. It's fine. We're good. I'm ready for Nashville. When are they getting a team?
Are you converting to the Nashville Stars? Is that what you're doing?
No, I'm not. Go Braves. Get back home and try to get things right. But 0-7 to start the season is awful.
Yeah, the last team to start 0-7 and make the postseason was the 1995 Seattle Mariners. No team has made the postseason after an 0-8 start. So
yeah,
good, man. Perfect.
There is hope.
If you're interested, you can go get one of those Ohtani bobbleheads on eBay. They're going for about $250.
Oh, there you go.
So,
no, thank you.
That's a reasonably priced piece of memorabilia.
No. We are here live in San Antonio, the side of the Final Four, Radio Row, and our friends at Westwood One providing some outstanding guests. And our first guest is going to be a guy that a lot of people know from our state, great state of Alabama. It's Alabama State head coach Tony Madlock. Coach, how are you? And welcome in the three-man front, Jocks 94.5. How are things going?
Everything's going good, man. Good morning.
Good morning. It seems like just yesterday, Coach, that – well, let me go ahead and tell you, for the Dayton game, I'm in a bowling league. Mm-hmm. And we are following the game. You have the different screens in between where the scores. Mm-hmm. And your game is going on with St. Francis. In that last 2 minutes of that game, everybody stops. I literally look both ends, and everybody stops and is paying attention to that game. And then the entire bowling alley erupts when you guys win. Mm-hmm. I just wanted you to know there were a lot more people from the state watching and pulling for the Hornets than maybe you were led on to believe.
March Madness.
March Madness.
Crazy, isn't it? And it's crazy because if you win that game by 4, 5, 6 points, and it's going to be a big deal for the state of Alabama, for Montgomery, for Alabama State, for HBCUs, because we won the game. But when you win a game like that, it becomes a national story. And to start off with everybody, the first game of the tournament, So everybody's watching, everybody's excited about, here it is, NCAA tournament, and to win like that, it's just such a blessing and did so much for our university and for the city of Montgomery.
And then just a couple of days later, you leave Dayton, you go south to Lexington, a couple hours on the bus ride.
Yeah.
And you know, of course, you're going to get the Auburn Tigers, the team that's right down the road. That's just kind of the sense of humor I think that the committee has sometimes. And logistically, it made sense. But you almost busted a lot of people's brackets. Watching that first 20 minutes of basketball and the way your team played. This is not a knock on Auburn, but you guys came out, played like a team that had nothing to lose, inspired basketball. And the way that your team plays and how you hustle on both ends, I think that is a testament to your program.
Well, I appreciate that. But again, my guys, we had a great run. Going into the SWAC tournament, we were one of the hottest teams in the league. Then you go in the tournament and you beat Texas Southern, who's really the standard of our league. You beat Grambling, who just won the league the year before. You beat Jackson State, who was another really hot team at the time. So you go in the tournament, you win that first 4 game, and then you play Auburn. We had played them the year before. Coach Pearl does a great job. They are the reason why they were the #1 overall seed. They're a great team. So it's just one of those things. We just went out and we just said, let's just go hoop. Y'all, I talked about let's have fun, and that's what my guys were doing. The goal going into that game was for us to have a chance, we got to do something crazy. Like, let's go 12 threes will give us a chance. Now, for us to have a real chance of winning it, we got to be in that 15, 16 range.
Right.
So we shot a lot. We only made 6, so the rest is history. But again, it was a lot of fun, man. All the credit goes to those guys, man, because they just want to play hard and have fun.
Alabama State head basketball coach Tony Madlock joining us here from Radio Row in San Antonio as a part of the Final Four here on Jock 94.5. Coach, when you look at this Auburn team, and we are going to talk about them, but in that matchup, and I know that you had seen film of them playing throughout the season, a lot of headlines with that team, but did you look at that team that day and say, they might struggle a little bit in this tournament, or did you say, no, that's probably a reset and they'll probably regain their focus?
Yeah, no, it was a reset. It was a reason why they were the best team all season long. They're really, really good. Coach Pearl does a great job with those guys. There's no weakness on that team. You can go get a bucket inside. They can really score the basketball. They can shoot the 3 ball. They get after you defensively. So there's no weakness on the team. We just, again, that first game, we played hard. It's their first game. So it's always that first game of a tournament. Everybody has a little nerves. Let's get past this. They weren't playing probably their best going into the tournament. But again, the job he has done there, and what kind of team they have, I had no doubt that they were going to be where they are right now.
Coach, we as fans, we appreciate March Madness for what it is and having some of those great Cinderella runs that we've had in past tournaments.
Yeah.
Chalk held for the most part this year,
yeah.
and the Cinderella, quote unquote, was Arkansas, a team that reportedly had the highest NIL budget of anyone out there in college basketball. If that's true, who knows? But they were the 10 seed.
Yeah.
Do you think that this is a sign of where we are and probably more to come?
Yes, just because of NIL money, the transfer portal, because, you just think about probably back in the day when you had those Cinderella games and Cinderella teams, it was because you had guys that, probably had been together a couple of years. Maybe they're sophomore year, junior year, and they've been together for a while, and they make a good run. Now, when you have a team that has really good freshmen, sophomores, they're probably going to have a chance to go somewhere else. So now, those teams that mid-major teams, they're going to lose their best players to high major teams, and that's just kind of how it's going to work. Just for my team, this year I had Martin Knox, who is first team All SWAC and averaged 15 points a game. Really good player. He's been with me for 3 years, and he got in the portal, and he should. He should get in the portal because opportunity to get more money, opportunity to maybe play at a high level. So he needs to kind of see what's out there. And but that's going to happen to every low Division I, mid-major, and then again, it's also happening to the high major. You look at those guys that are playing well at a high major program, and I'm pretty sure they're getting pretty good money. They want to go somewhere and make more money, and maybe go to another team. So it's going to forever be that, I guess, until they do something about it. But we all have to adjust, and we will.
You want to talk about a matchup nightmare, Knox? Goodness gracious! Can anybody stay with that guy?
He has a knack for scoring the basketball, and he can get downhill. And he's not a great athlete. He just has a knack for sometimes you are a scorer by nature, and that's what he is.
When we look at the rematch with Florida and Auburn,
Yeah.
you look at that matchup. What do you think Auburn can do to maybe advance to that final game?
Well, first of all, the inside game is going to be big for them. But the thing about it is, what Auburn has to do is try to turn Florida over some. They can with their pressure. I think they can do that. But it's gonna be a great matchup. I think going into the tournament, I think everybody thought that the Florida team was probably the hottest team in the country, along probably with Duke. But Auburn has really played well, and I mean, what can you say about Houston and how hard these guys play? So, it's gonna. I'm excited for Saturday to see what happens.
It is funny how we watch the tournament from game to game, and we assume as fans that just because a team played this way against this team, that's going to translate to the next game, and that's not always the case. As a great coach who joins our show, Coach Wimp Sanderson, former Alabama coach, he told us on our show, he said every game takes on its own personality.
And it does. Again, just because you played somebody and you were able to beat them earlier in the year doesn't mean a thing this time of year.
Who cuts down the nets?
Well, again, I know I'm going to be asked this question a lot today.
We have to be quiet in here.
I know it, but I think Auburn's going to do it.
Okay.
Just because, first of all, they beat us, so they beat us, man. But Coach Pearl has done a really good job. But I just think they've been the number one team for the most part all year. They have a great balance of inside outside. So I think Auburn's going to do it.
Coach Madlock, you made a lot of people in our state proud, not just Hornet supporters, and want to say it's a pleasure to meet you, and thanks for representing like you do.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks.
Coach Tony Madlock, Alabama State. We continue our coverage here, Westwood One Radio Row, San Antonio. The Final Four. It's three-man front and Jocks 94.5.
Well, spring weather in Alabama can be really
Coach.
unpredictable, so that's why you need the reliability of A-Train, voted America's most trusted HVAC brand. And right now you can receive up to a 10-year warranty on parts and labor with Select Train home comfort systems. So to find out more, go and visit train.com.
More from San Antonio, more from Birmingham. This is Jocks 94.5 live at the Final Four. It is 10:21, Jocks 94.5. Appreciate head coach Tony Madlock joining us here on the program. Interesting perspective. They were the first team to play the Auburn Tigers in the NCAA tournament, and he made the prediction that he thinks that Auburn Tigers will cut down the nets on Monday night. So that'll be pretty nice if that comes to be. A little bit later on this hour, Ryan Odom, the head basketball coach, the new basketball coach of the University of Virginia. He will join the program as we have a split broadcast today here in Birmingham at the Final Four in San Antonio as Landrum Roberts is there at the Gonzalez Convention Center. A little bit of news on the Auburn front and the transfer portal. Former UCF basketball star Keyshawn Hall is expected to transfer to Auburn. The 6'7", 235-pounder averaged 18.8 points per game, 7.1 rebounds. Hall had Zoom meetings with Kansas, Kentucky, Auburn, Arkansas, and LSU. He gave a quote to one news outlet, and he says, "I want to be coached by the best coach in the country, and that's Bruce Pearl." Ooh. So Keyshawn Hall, one of the stars of the UCF Knights, is coming to the Auburn Tigers. Meanwhile, there is some movement last night in regards to what's going to happen to Yaxel Lindeborg. Insiders are telling On3 that it looks like it's going to come down to 4 schools, and those 4 schools are Alabama, Kentucky, Michigan, or Auburn. Both Kentucky and Michigan are expected to be his top contenders, though, according to On3. Yaxel is also considering his NBA draft stock. Now, the dead period begins today, and it lasts a week, so nobody can have contact with any of these players. So that's why you saw a flurry of activity yesterday of guys go ahead and committing to places or making their visits.
And news this morning that got filed last night, and now it's coming out this morning. And
yes. So that's the situation with Yaxel Lindeborg. So it seems, according to On3, that Kentucky and Michigan. Now, Mark Pope flew to Chicago and met with Yaxel Lindeborg because he was in Chicago. So
right.
Pope did that. To my knowledge, he did not visit Alabama or Auburn, but I would think that he probably has a pretty good indication of what you have in Tuscaloosa and in Auburn, based on the fact that he's been in UAB the last 2 years.
Yeah, and there's no surprise that those two programs. If I'm going just based on what we know about Michigan and how much they've been willing to pay, I don't know about Kentucky. I'm sure that they have it in the coffers. But if it's ultimately about a bidding war, I would give the edge to Michigan. Would you not? And how they utilize their big men. Not that the other 3 don't, but I think Yaxel Lindeborg could be pretty good in that offense.
And don't forget that Dusty May was in the conference and battled with Yaxel Lindeborg. So, I mean, he knows exactly what Yaxel does in person and what a dynamic player he is.
Well, take a guy like Danny Wolf. Or even and more so a Danny Wolf because of how he can put it on the floor and go out and shoot it. But what Yaxel Lindeborg has been doing to evolve his game, it seems like Michigan would be a really good fit for him.
So we'll see what happens with Yaxel Lindeborg. On3 also mentioned that they believe a decision could come as early as Saturday.
Yeah, I will say I looked at, NBA. If you go on NBA.com and find out like their latest mock draft that their writers have, it had Yaxel Lindeborg as a late first-round pick. He was going to the Nets, I think 28th or 29th overall. So that factors in as well because you would imagine if he gets a first-round grade from the NBA, he's probably going into the draft. But we'll wait and see because he'll certainly get paid a lot of money if he decides to stay in college another year.
So the big story yesterday morning when we were doing the program, the general feeling was that Chris Beard was heading to College Station, that he was going to be the head coach of the Texas A&M Aggies. Well, an interesting thing happened. He had a conversation with his athletic director over at Ole Miss, and typically what happens in these type conversations is you use one job as leverage, and that's exactly what he did. And so now Beard is going to stay in Oxford. The NIL resources are going to be upped from a larger money pool. And so now they are going to have an NIL in basketball that is going to be ranked in the top 4 in the Southeastern Conference. That's pretty massive. So now Texas A&M, after that snub, they're looking for a basketball coach and some interesting names, being bannered back and forth of where they could turn to now. But a lot of pressure is on Molly's former athletic director, Trev Alberts, to get something done.
Just don't take Hoiberg. Go get like Greg McDermott.
Hoiberg
Creighton.
is mentioned as one of the names.
Yeah.
That
Look at
Trev
the other
Alberts is
Nebraska
looking
coach.
Who was the other guy? I haven't looked at the list this morning. Who else, Pat? Did you see on that?
McCasland, the Texas Tech coach.
Texas Tech coach. Oh, that'd be a tough get.
I've seen Chris Jans. I've seen his name thrown around a couple
Jans
times.
is interesting, and I don't know if I was told I could share this or not. But yeah, that might be one to circle and watch.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. You're trying to hold information.
By the way, the
from
first
us?
time I ever met him, he was a New Mexico State coach, and it was in Minneapolis at the Final Four. Nice guy.
So
really good basketball.
You're holding
coach, too.
information away from us.
Well, not from you guys. I shouldn't have said it on the air. I was about to, and then I caught myself. So,
And now you leave us all hanging.
All right, here's the list according to some multiple sources. The High Point head coach, Alan Huss. He is a possibility.
do they have a steakhouse there?
Fred Hoiberg, as we just mentioned. Luke Murray. Luke Murray, the assistant coach at UConn, who is the son of Bill Murray,
Oh yeah, Luke.
the comedian.
Yes, yeah, Luke.
Are you ready for this next one? Mm-hmm. Who's joining the show at 11:20 today?
Porter Moser.
I think that should be the first question you ask Porter Moser.
How much?
You're in San Antonio.
How much, Pat?
You're about 2 hours away from College Station.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you going back to Norman when the Final Four is over, or are you going
Yeah.
to College Station? That's what you need to ask him. Also, Steve Forbes, the Wake Forest head coach.
Are you lactose intolerant?
So there's your names as of this moment.
Do you think Porter Moser, when he comes in here, because we see him all decked out, he still wears the traditional stuff on the sidelines, right?
Yeah,
You think
he
you
wears
think he
the
comes in here with,
tennis
like-
shoes, though.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
does, but he's got the nice suit on. Yeah.
Do you think he comes in here with a suit?
No.
Or you think we see
Coaching
see him
tracksuit.
laid back, lets his
Tracksuit.
hair down a little bit?
Tracksuit.
Tracksuit?
Yep. It's Coach Lee from Vanderbilt.
What if he goes opposite, though? What if he goes track suit and dress shoes?
Be interesting.
Nobody's tried that look.
So according to Las Vegas, listen, I'm just the messenger here. Mm-hmm. According to Las Vegas, Porter Moser is the leading candidate for the job.
There you go.
Well,
So, Coach Moser, how much have they offered you already?
Pat, you shouldn't have told me this. This interview just changed.
It's got awkward, didn't
This
it?
just changed. I'm not going to go, pulling on the heartstrings of the faithful there in Norman and how much he loves it. And we will probably redesign our questions for Coach Moser.
This is your chance to get payback for me, Landrum, because I drove all the way to Norman, Oklahoma, and had to suffer through that horrible football game.
true.
And now the
get
tables
'em
have
back.
turned.
Yeah.
Yeah, do this for me. This
Okay.
I need this.
All right, so Porter Moser, he is 3-1 odds. Again, Hoiberg is the second best odds at 7-2.
Did him and Trev get along well? Did they have a good relationship?
I think they did. I mean, he extended him.
Chris Jans at 4-1. He's got the third best odds. Brad Underwood from Illinois. Yeah, he was the
good
head
one.
coach at Stephen F. Austin, I think, before he took
Yeah, he's
the
very good.
Illinois job. Alan Huss has the same odds as Underwood. That's the gentleman I just brought up from High Point. McCaslin is 8-1. Greg McDermott
Yeah, take that, Nebraska coach.
from Creighton.
Don't take Hoiberg.
He's 12-1. Will Wade is 16-1.
That would be something, wouldn't it?
Would that not be great if he left to NC State?
That would be something.
You've got TJ Otzelberger from Iowa State. He's 20-1.
He's a very good coach.
Richard Pitino, the Xavier coach, hasn't even been a coach a week yet. He's 25-1. And Bucky McMillan
What?
Whoa.
is next on the list at 33-1.
I don't
Tear
want to
up
have to
Conrad's
spend
family.
my holidays in College Station. That sounds awful.
Better get some maroon
Yeah.
for Paige.
At least Nados isn't on that list.
No, he is not.
Now that I'm thinking
It's
about
not North
it, though,
Carolina, so.
the last time I was on Radio Row at the Final Four, Mike Young, who was then the coach at Wofford, then he got the job at Virginia Tech. Mm-hmm. We had Chris Jans on, who was then the coach at New Mexico State. He then got the job at Mississippi State.
Yep.
And now, Porter Moser? Really? Tony Madlock, where is he going? I'm just kidding, Alabama State fans. But, I mean, could be. This could be the everybody that comes on the show gets a new job.
So fascinating as the Texas A&M folks looking for a coach after Chris Beard, who they thought had locked up, decided to stay at Ole Miss. We're live in San Antonio at the Final Four. This is Three-Man Front, Jocks 94.5. It's 10:34, Jocks 94.5. Welcome back. This is Three-Man Front. We're live at the Final Four in San Antonio, Texas. Pat, Conrad, Molly here in Birmingham, Landrum Robertson, San Antonio. All the coverage brought to you by Westwood One Radio. We appreciate our partnership with them throughout the NCAA basketball tournament. You know, owning a home is great, but it can come with your share of headaches. Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about because if you look around your house, your doors don't close quite as flush as they used to. You look up and the windows are difficult to pull up and down. You got an issue, and that's because your foundation is settling and you could have a bigger problem. That's where APS comes in at 205-951-9717. Because the professionals at APS, they can come to your house and they can assess any type of issue you might have with that settling of your foundation and make sure that your foundation is in fine working order. Also, you talk about your sidewalk or your driveway, they can level that up with the poly-level system. Also, they're going to make sure that your crawl space has been encapsulated properly because if it's properly encapsulated, that means that water can't get in to cause mold problems, which can cause cracking of your foundation. Pests can get in there. They can take care of all that at APS. So call them today at 205-951-9717. Have the peace of mind of knowing that your home is protected. Alabama Professional Services, that's alabamaprofessional.com. Landrum Robertson, San Antonio. We've already talked to the head basketball coach at Alabama State. We hope to catch up with the new head basketball coach at the University of Virginia. Ryan Odom will join us momentarily in just a couple of minutes on the program. Also yesterday, big news coming out of Sacramento State. They have announced that they plan on filing an application. They want to be the new FBS school in football. They're an FCS school. They want to transition from FCS to FBS. They plan to do so as an independent. Now, what they really want to have happen is they want to be a member of the Pac-12. That's their ultimate goal. They're trying to raise money. Matter of fact, last year they raised about $35 million in NIL. They want to get that number up to 50. The school has already filed a waiver to transition to an independent in football. That does require an NCAA approval, so we'll wait to see what happens there. So what do you think, Conrad? Sacramento State, FBS team, sign them up, play Alabama?
Yeah, a Jai Hall revenge game, right? Since that's where he is now. There's somebody else that was I'm trying to remember who it was, but somebody else that had a bigger name that transferred over to Sacramento State as well. So, sure, why not? If we're going to rebuild the Pac-12, we might as well, and we can let George Kliavkov come back and he can run it.
Maybe he's the AD of Sac State.
Yeah, maybe so. But yeah, I mean, hey, the more the merrier. I have no problem with it. It's just kind of interesting that, again, this was a team. Oh, this is where Potter went, the general manager for the Stallions.
You are right.
That's what it was. This is where Zach Potter went. And so, because we've talked about a couple of the guys.
And since
that
Zach Potter left, the Stallions are 0-1.
That is true. Yeah. And Sacramento State is undefeated. They also haven't won anything, but that's neither
still
here.
Undefeated.
Yeah, neither here nor there. But no, and they brought in some big name players already that if they were able to get the most out of them, yeah, they could be competitive. They could win some games this year. So yeah, I have no problem with. I mean, if we're gonna put, if the Pac-12 is basically gonna become the Mountain West and Friends Conference, then I mean that's what it is.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Rebuild the Pac-12. I miss it.
Bring it back, but no automatic qualifiers in the playoff for the Pac-12. I'm sorry, we don't.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I'm with you there. It was impressive the fact that they had an NIL fundraising campaign and they raised about $35 million like out of the gate. You know who their basketball coach is now, don't you?
No, I don't. Who is that?
Mike Bibby.
Oh, that's right. Because that was announced like last week, right?
Yep. And he said the reason he took the job is because he sees all the momentum that the athletic department and the school has for athletics. And he,
AKA money.
Now, come on, Conrad. He's doing it for the real reason. Because he loves basketball. He loves teaching young people. That's why Mike Bibby took the job at Sacramento State.
He loves doing curls. He's got the biggest biceps I've ever seen.
Pat, I think that's why coaches used to take jobs.
Oh, really? Because they like to teach young people?
Yes.
Now it's just about the money.
Well, now it's teach young people to elevate them to go to maybe a better financial opportunity the next season.
Well, I tell you what, since we are talking about that, Kirby Smart, you got Georgia's having spring practice right now. And so Kirby Smart yesterday, he was asked an interesting question about the transfer portal and what he's looking for in regards to players out of the transfer portal. This is a very interesting take. Take a listen.
Do you want to be great? Do you have fire, passion, and energy? I'll pay for that. I'll pay a premium for fire, passion, and energy because in the market we're in, there's a lack of that. Kids are going to struggle the next 10 years when they look back and somebody says, I'm going to go back, introspect, I'm going to look at this and say, what happened to the kids that went to 2 and 3 and 4 places? I will assure you we will not be happy with where those kids that jump for greener grass went to. And I think the portal's a good thing for a lot of kids that are 3rd, 4th, 5th year, but it also gives you a way out that I don't think is good for kids right now.
Couldn't agree more.
No, there's so much of that's true. Because I can look back on my life, and I never played college basketball or college football, but I think that there are some things, and going through some of those trials and tribulations and grinding it out, there's a lot that you can carry with you as you get older. And there's still experiences that I know that we've all had, and Pat, that we've had, that now we look back and we say, never want to do it again, but I'm almost glad I did it.
Yeah. Well, there's no doubt. I mean, that's just life in general. And learn from your mistakes and
sure, and
what you're able to do. But I couldn't agree more. I mean, he's looking for guys that have passion. He's also looking for guys that are committed to the program. And you heard him. He admitted it, that looking at those older guys, looking at those third and fourth year fellas that's looking for an opportunity, because you go and sign a 5-star. That 5-star is going to want a lot of money. I mean, heck, you got 5-stars that want money just to come on campus to visit, and then you're going to have to pay them money to be a part of the team. And then if they're not committed for the long-term plan, they're going to be out the door first opportunity. So I think Kirby Smart is definitely laying the law down in regards to what he thinks needs to happen and what he's looking for out of the transfer. I mean, that was literally an advertisement for anybody that wants to consider coming to Georgia, that you better be ready. This is what I expect. So hats off to him for laying the groundwork for the transfer portal. We are live in San Antonio and in Birmingham. This is our Final Four coverage. We have many more guests to come, including the new head basketball coach there at the University of Virginia, Porter Moser, the current basketball coach at the University of Oklahoma, is scheduled to be with us next hour.
I think we should just call him current SEC head coach.
That's probably a better moniker for that. Donnie Lind from Mount St. Mary's. He's going to join the show later, along with Rodney Orr, Rob Pate, and the voice of the San Antonio Spurs will also join us as everybody invades his town this week for the Final Four. Landrum's in San Antonio, Molly, Conrad, myself here in Birmingham. This is 3-Man Front on Jocks 94.5. It's 1046, Jocks 94.5. If you went to bed early last night, bad news, the Braves lose last night 6-5 to the Dodgers. Ohtani goes yard in the ninth. They walk it off against the Braves. The Braves are off today. They will have their home opener starting tomorrow, so you can hear that coverage here on Jocks 94.5. And don't forget the Final Four coverage right here on Jocks 94.5. Westwood One's coverage here on Jocks 94.5.
Yeah, and don't forget to give our friends at Stark Exterminators a call today. If you're a homeowner, if you're a business owner, they can come to your place of business or your home, come up with a customized plan for you like they did at the Roberts house a few years ago. Stark Exterminators have been family-owned for over 61 years. Protect your home, especially here in the warmer months when you get those pesky insects. They can cause all kinds of problems, but with the friends at Stark, you can rest assured they're going to take care of you. Your satisfaction as a customer is absolutely guaranteed. Give them a call, or you can find them online today. Go to 855-STARK now or visit starkexterminators.com. Set up an appointment with their great team members, and they'll come out, be professional and courteous, and come up with that customized plan for you. Once again, 855-STARK now or visit starkexterminators.com, and always tell them Landrum from Jocks 94.5 sent you.
So one of our questions yesterday on Pat Ponders, I asked Molly and Conrad Landrum, what matchup for the national championship game do you believe would have the largest the largest viewership in regards to television ratings? Do you have a feeling on that? Which matchup?
I mean, it feels like Florida and Duke, because those were the two teams that everybody was talking about at the beginning of the tournament. So I will go Florida and Duke.
That's what both of them said yesterday. So they're in agreement with you. You know, viewership for the NCAA men's basketball tournament is flat now. You know, they had a really good first round.
Yeah.
Second night, really good. But since then, it's kind of been going in the opposite direction. So it's flat heading into the Final Four. Now, the tournament is up about 3% over last year. But the Elite Eight was down 10%. But keep in mind, 2024 had the benefit of Easter Sunday because Easter Sunday came early last year. This year, Easter is late. So the Elite Eight was plus 4% from 2023. Now, the women's basketball tournament, they've averaged 1.7 million viewers for the Sweet 16 round. That's down 29% from 2.4 million last year, but good enough for the second best Sweet 16 of all time. So it's kind of interesting how those numbers are working out. So we'll see how that goes in regards to coming up on Monday night, whoever gets to play for the national championship.
Yeah, I mean, I would just think having it's going to be competitive, right? Because it's all 4 number 1 seeds there. I would think that would help with the viewership. I still do think that if Duke getting in, right, they're one of those teams that they're going to draw because of how big the fan base is, combined with people are going to tune in to hopefully watch them lose, right? And so you have that element, kind of like we talked about with Alabama and football. And then on the other side, you know, here in SEC country, I just wonder in terms of basketball, how much appeal nationally the SEC has. Because obviously here, we're all so excited. This has been the best year ever for us in terms of SEC basketball. But, you know, does Auburn move the needle nationally? Does Florida move the needle nationally? Not in the same way that Duke does, because Duke's their own thing, but that'll be an interesting thing just to see how it plays out. And
I'm going to go ahead and publicly state it. I think we get Auburn and Houston in the title game.
Oh, okay.
Oh, he's already making a prediction at 49
Wow.
minutes in.
Yeah.
Was Cooper Flagg he didn't look sharp when you saw him yesterday walking downtown?
Has nothing to do with Cooper Flagg. I just, man, Houston just seems like that team that I saw what they did to Tennessee, and that was a Tennessee team that I told Pat. I texted him one night, and I said, Tennessee keeps shooting the ball like this, they're going to win the national championship with that defense. And, ooh, I know you can't go game to game, but Houston, they've been so consistent in this tournament.
Well, not to mention the fact that they lead the country in three-point shooting. They make almost 40% of their three-point shots, and that might not get a lot of publicity in our part of the world because of the kind of season the SEC had, but they have 3 starters that shoot 42% or better from the three-point arc. Now, we saw that Duke plays pretty good defense on the three-point line. So
yes.
we'll see.
Yes, they do.
We'll see how that works out. But Houston is averaging 9 3-pointers in the NCAA tournament.
Well, and that was the thing about the Tennessee game, too, is if you're a Tennessee fan, you're probably kicking yourselves because Houston wasn't their sharpest offensively. It was just Tennessee was all-time bad offensively, and so you were never able to get back into it. But yeah, I mean, if this Houston team, if they're knocking down their shots and they're playing better offensively against Duke, it's going to be over.
Should be very interesting coming up this weekend, as the Final Four will get tipped off early on Saturday, as you will have, of course, the Auburn Tigers. They will be taking on the wonderful Florida Gators. And let's go back to San Antonio with Langell Roberts with a special guest.
Yes, it is Ryan Odom, a newly named Virginia head basketball coach. And for those of you basketball fans, your bracket got busted because of this guy, UMBC, and what they were able to do there with knocking off a 1 seed several years ago. But then on to VCU. Coach, first of all, congratulations.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me on. We're excited for Auburn and this matchup.
Yeah, the SEC this year, we're really proud. Everybody thinks of the SEC as the football conference,
That's
right?
right. No.
But we play a little basketball down there.
No, they had a great season. I mean, 14 bids and down to 2 here and an opportunity to win a national championship. Duke and Houston obviously have something to say about it, but it's going to be a great Final Four, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And I go back and you being at VCU, and I look back at some of the great coaches and going from that school and getting some of the other jobs. Not that that's not a great job. Sonny Smith, who I worked with, and he was there, and so many others that we could mention. But why Virginia? Why for you to go and take that job and that challenge?
Probably the easiest question to answer. I grew up there. My father was an assistant, back in 82 to 89. I fell in love with basketball. At that point, I was in third grade to ninth grade, and so I had a front row seat to ACC basketball. Had a front row seat to many highly successful players and coaches. Coach Larinaga from Miami was on the staff with my dad. They shared an office. Both of his sons are still close with both of them. Jay coaches at the Clippers. And then Coach Holland, gave my dad an opportunity to join the number 1 team in the country. Ralph Sampson was the center. Rick Carlisle was on the team, and was a starter and a great player, and many others, as well. And so, for me to be a part of that culture, was really impactful for me as a youngster. And then you talk about the education, that our students get at the University of Virginia. It's top notch, and so I had a front row seat to all of that. And for me to be the coach there now, especially given the history, it's coming home, and really is a full circle moment for me.
It feels like, Coach, that now every coach, when you talk about it, it all starts with NIL. At a school like Virginia and the academic excellence and the traditions that there, and it's there on the athletic side as well. But is it different for a school like Virginia, or is it all kind of thrown into the same pot as everybody else?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's different is we have high-level academics, certainly, and so we can, it matches, in a lot of instances. Parents, still want that, for their children, and obviously, the money has changed things, but certainly for us, the investment is there. Our administration, the boosters, they're committed to having a championship program, and so. We're in the midst of roster reconstruction right now. It happens, on a higher level when there's a job change, when there's a coaching change, and certainly we're in the midst of it right now. But all the positives that have existed for UVA over the years are still there, and so we want to sell those to recruits. Certainly high school kids, the best high school kids in the country. We believe we can compete for them, and this is a great place for them to land. If you have dreams of getting a great education, of playing in the NBA, and doing it at a place that cares about you and loves you, Virginia's a good spot. And certainly I'm very fortunate and feel a deep responsibility to get it back there.
A few more moments with Virginia head coach Ryan Odom joining us here on Radio Row, Westwood One's coverage of the Final Four here on Jock 94.5. Coach, you mentioned Auburn, and they're going to take on Florida, a team that they lost to at home earlier this season.
Did they play once or twice?
They just played once.
Okay.
And that was at Neville Arena, and Florida shot it really well and came in. And
I remember the game. I remember that. I just didn't know if they played another time.
Not that you have studied these two teams in depth, but when you look at Auburn in this particular matchup, what is there to feel good about?
Yeah, I mean, Auburn, I love their front court. I really do. I mean, Broom's obviously one of the best players in the country. Dylan Cardwell holds a special place in the Odom household because he was my son Connor's roommate at Oak Hill.
He seems like such a great kid.
Great guy. Great guy. He is Auburn basketball in a lot of ways. He's just under Coach Pearl, but he's right there.
Right.
Everybody loves Dylan. But I'm really impressed with their guard play too. They're attacking. They attack you. They defend you. They play really hard. Florida's had a dynamite season. Coach Golden's done a great job, a fabulous job. They have major talent and offensive output. And then the other side of things, you've got Duke. Nobody's playing better than Duke right now. Their ability to switch. They have the best player in the country, most talented player in the country who's playing lights out in Cooper Flagg. And I wouldn't want to coach against Kelvin Sampson in this moment either.
No.
John Shire has done an absolutely amazing job following a legend like Coach K.
Coach, thanks for joining us. Enjoy the Final Four, and congratulations on the new gig.
Awesome. Thank you.
Coach Ryan Odom. We continue live from San Antonio, Radio Row. It's the Final Four. Westwood One and Jocks 94.5's coverage. Next hour, plenty more guests. Stick around. It's a Thursday on Three Man Front. Welcome back in on this Thursday, a Final Four Thursday split broadcast. Landrum Roberts here from Radio Row in San Antonio, the site of this year's Final Four. The teams are here. Practice, shoot-arounds, and all kinds of fun. We're going to have more guests stopping by in the first hour. Talk to Alabama State head basketball coach Tony Madlock. Ryan Odom, recently named head basketball coach at Virginia. Coming up in this hour, we're going to talk to Porter Moser, head basketball coach at Oklahoma, and we'll continue our coverage here from San Antonio. But our coverage is brought to you by our friends at Straight Talk. Need more data so you can stream your jam mix on the loop? Well, you can switch to Straight Talk. Get real unlimited data on a reliable 5G network. Straight Talk, Available at Walmart or straighttalk.com. So a lot going on here in San Antonio, Pat, and I know that there's a lot of buzz about the transfer portal.
Absolutely. We'll talk to Rodney Orr from Tider Insider coming up momentarily, and he mentioned the transfer portal. A little bit of Auburn news that came out last night. Former Central Florida basketball star guard Kayshawn Hall, he's expected to transfer to Auburn. The 6'7", 235-pound averaged 18.8 points per game, 7.1 rebounds last season. Hall had Zoom meetings with Kansas, Kentucky, Auburn, Arkansas, and LSU, and he has verbally committed to Auburn. He told some outlets, I want to be coached by the best coach in the country, and that's Bruce Pearl. So that begs the question now, what about the Alabama Crimson Tide? They got a 7-footer the other day to commit to come to Tuscaloosa. Let's talk to Rodney Orr now on the Higginbotham Hotline. Joins us from Tuscaloosa. Rodney, I hope you're doing well on this Thursday. I know a lot of Alabama fans was hoping that they would be making the trek to San Antonio. Just did not happen because they went up against a very good, talented Duke team.
Yeah, maybe the best team in the country. I mean, for Alabama to win, obviously they needed kind of a performance similar to what they had against BYU. They needed all those threes to fall, and, they just weren't falling. Obviously, Duke defended that very well, but, Alabama had some shots that just didn't go down like they did against BYU, and Duke's a juggernaut. Man, it's going to be interesting to see if they win it all.
So, Rodney, with the season being over, we now turn our attention to next year, and we know there's going to be a lot of new faces. Mark Sears, Grant Nelson, a number of other guys are going to be leaving. So what can you tell us right now? What is the buzz with Alabama in the transfer portal? You've already gotten the 7-footer from Bucknell, but who are some other players that Alabama fans should be keeping an eye on?
Yeah, I mean, this stuff is kind of crazy. I mean, I really don't know how coaches manage all this stuff, but you mentioned Noah Williamson from Bucknell, 7-footer, 250. Guy's really big, athletic. He can do it all. I mean, he can dribble, he can shoot, he can defend, he can rebound, So he's a pretty impressive kid. I think he was a Patriot League Player of the Year there. So I thought that was a really big pickup. I know that they had some guys in here recently. Taylor Bowen from Florida State, a 6'10" forward, about 200. He's not really big physically, but I mean, obviously he has great height. My understanding is Alabama feels really good, even though he's still not committed. I think Alabama feels like they're in pretty good shape with him. He averaged about 8 points a game this past year at FSU, but he's a really good-looking prospect. So I think that's one guy to keep your eye on. And I think another one, you hear a lot of back and forth about Rylan Griffin possibly returning from Kansas. Of course, he was here a year before last on the Final Four team, but I keep hearing mixed things. But this morning I heard from one source that there's a really pretty good chance he could be returning to Tuscaloosa. We'll see. They've got a great relationship. He and his family have a great relationship with Nate Oates. So I don't think it would be a total surprise if he came back. We'll see.
In regards to this season, and based on your website and the people that follow Alabama basketball, and we talked to you about it about a week ago, do they view this season as a success getting to the Elite Eight, a disappointment by not getting back to the Final Four? How would you summarize it?
I think when you look at Alabama basketball historically and you say that they went to a Final Four, then they went to an Elite Eight, I mean, that's pretty amazing back-to-back runs to me. Now, the fans, I think, because of the Final Four last year, there's a lot of hype about this roster that they had. Maybe the best in school history, got preseason number one. There were a lot of expectations. I mean, I know this sounds crazy, but I really, truly believe some people expected them to go undefeated. I mean, that's kind of, the way it is with some of these fans. But realistically, everyone knew that wouldn't happen. So the expectations, I think, probably among many fans weren't met. And that's kind of crazy to say, to have gone to the Elite Eight. Maybe some people thought that it should be a lot more than that. Final Four, play for the national championship. But I think, too, Pat and Conrad, you have to consider when your arch rival is in the Final Four, and I've seen people post this on Tider Insider, this is the season we were supposed to have. We were supposed to be there. So I think there's some disappointment, but again, I think personally it's difficult to be too disappointed with an Elite Eight run.
So, Rodney, do you look at the basketball program now as you haven't reached the heights of the football program in terms of winning the number of championships and things like that, but in terms from a reloading standpoint, do you feel like Alabama is in a position right now with what Nate Oates and that staff have done to where, yeah, there's going to be a lot of new faces. We know a lot of guys are leaving. We just talked about how tricky it is at the transfer portal. But is Alabama in a position now as a basketball program where going into next year, you think they're going to be right back there in the hunt for a third straight Elite Eight, maybe another Final Four appearance, because that's just the ability that they have to bring in new talent year in and year out now?
Yeah, I think Nate Oates and his staff and Preston Murphy and all of the staff that they have, they do a fantastic job. I mean, they put together the roster this past year. You know, they put a lot of pieces to it, and I think they'll do it again. I mean, I just think that's what they do. I'll be really surprised if they don't have another top-notch roster. So, I think the expectations are now that Alabama's going to be one of those, like you said, 8 to 10 teams that they're going to make a run every year. They're going to have an opportunity because of the Nate Oates, the roster that they put together.
Talking to Rodney Orr from Tighter Insider, and as customary, at the end of this interview, we have a trivia question that Rodney has been so kind to. Whoever wins the trivia question, gets it right, first person to call in and give us the correct answer, they're going to get a VIP membership to Tighter Insider. Now, you have to be careful when you're on there posting stuff. You gotta follow the rules that Rodney lays out. But just want to remind everybody that's coming up towards the back end of the interview. All right, so let's talk a little football spring practice. A little bit of news earlier this week in regards to an injury in the tight end room. What can you tell us? What's the latest there?
Yeah, Marshall Pritchett, the true freshman, who was really impressive, from the practice observers and the sources that we spoke to. They thought he was having a great spring. Guy's really talented. Went down, and again, I don't know the exact specifics of the injury. It's a leg, knee, something, obviously lower body, but I don't have the exact details of that. But it will force him to miss the rest of spring, it sounds like. But the expectation from what I've told is he should be ready to go come August camp, which is good. But that really only leaves them with two tight ends the rest of spring. Josh Cuevas, the transfer from Washington from last year, who's a guy that's going to make a big contribution this year, I think. And then Jay Lindsey, the redshirt freshman from Butler, Alabama. So Danny Lewis is out. He's out with an injury, been out. And, of course, you lost C.J. Dupree and Robbie Oots. They're gone. So tight end's a position, Pat and Conrad, to watch out for Alabama in the portal. I was told, at least one probably they're going to certainly give a strong look at, maybe even two. So that could be a real position for them in the portal.
Rodney, I wanted to ask you quickly about the leadership committee or council, whatever it's called there on the team, because I know we've had a couple of names come out. I know Ty Simpson was elected to it. We know Quay Russaw was. I was just curious, do you know everybody that is, I guess, on that leadership committee for the Alabama football team this year, or are we just going to have to wait for, players to let it slip maybe in some of their interviews?
I honestly, someone gave me a list and I did not write it down, to be honest with you. I'll try to get that to you and text it to you if I can. But no, I don't know all the names off the top of my head, but obviously, Ty Simpson's a guy that was voted onto that. And I know that that's obviously, when you look at him in the quarterback situation, and that's a really kind of a big deal, I think, to have him on there. But other than that, no, I'm not 100% sure exactly off the top of my head.
In regards to the quarterback situation, our very own Greg McElroy here on Jocks 94.5, he's done some podcasts as well saying that this is Ty Simpson's job. I'm paraphrasing, but basically that he's really had a nice spring so far, and it's kind of had a very strong hold in that quarterback room. Are you hearing anything different from what Greg McElroy is reporting?
No, I'm really not. That's pretty much what, we felt and heard going in, and it's kind of stayed that way. That Ty is a guy that headed in, they felt really good about, and he has had a good spring. My understanding is he had 3 touchdown passes in the scrimmage last week, a couple to Isaiah Horton, the Miami transfer, and I think he had one to Jalen Hale, and he had no turnovers. That's my understanding. That's the feedback we got. So he's having a really nice spring. I think he's taken a lot of big steps. I know that Ty's working hard in terms of, leadership and developing that. And obviously, like you said, he's on that leadership council. So those things have been really important. But I have heard some really positive things too about Austin Mack and Keelan Russell. Both of those guys. I mean, I think they're right there. I mean, they're competing really hard. They've made a lot of strides based on what I've heard. And we've heard a lot of hype about Keelan Russell. I talked to a couple of sources that I know what they're looking at this weekend, and man, they're really high on his future. I think they feel like down the road he's a guy that he kind of brings that Tua, Bryce Young feel to him. He's just got that special talent, and so he's a guy that certainly is right now, I think, turning some heads.
Rodney Orr of Tider Insider joining us for a few more minutes here on Three Man Front, as he does each and every Thursday. Okay, Rodney, someone you just touched on, I wanted to ask a little more in depth about Isaiah Horton. Heard good things about him. You mentioned multiple touchdown catches in that scrimmage last week based on the reports that you're getting. So is it safe to say, A, that Isaiah Horton has been the most impressive transfer so far for Alabama, and B, is there any possibility that he could maybe overtake Jeremy Bernard and be the number 2 receiver on this team behind Ryan Williams?
Yeah, as far as the impressive transfer, I think about that. He's the one that, is certainly hearing the most about, for sure. I mean, I think when you look at this wide receiver group, and we said this headed into spring, based on some things we were hearing, there was a lot of excitement about this group, this unit, with Jamarcus Shepard would be probably the most improved group on the team, perhaps. And I think they've kind of lived up to that so far this spring. And one reason is Isaiah Horton. He's 6'4", he's 210, he's a physical guy. I think he brings that physical presence to go with Jeremy Bernard and Ryan Williams. But this group as a whole, I watch out, because I think they've got a chance to be really, really good. I think when you look at those three, you look at Jalen Hills coming back, obviously, hopefully fully healthy, looks to be on that track. And then Cole Adams, really doing well, Rico Scott, but a couple of true freshmen to really keep your eye on who I think could make a good contribution as well. Latsir Brooks out of New Jersey is a very dynamic player. He wears number 17, kind of reminds you a little bit of Waddle. Very, very dynamic. And then also Derek Meadows. You look at him, he's out of Las Vegas. He's 6'5 plus, he's 210 pounds. This guy ran 300-meter hurdles at 36 seconds last year.
Wow.
He's got legit speed too. I mean, 40 speed. And I think he's a guy that with Jamarcus Shepard developing him, watch out for him. He could be a guy that makes a big impact this year. So that wide receiver group is looking pretty strong.
That is Rodney Orr from Tider Insider. You can follow all of his work there at TiderInsider.com. And speaking of the aforementioned TiderInsider.com, each and every week on this program, we ask a trivia question. And if you get the trivia question right, you get a VIP membership to Tider Insider. This week's question, Rodney, Mark Sears is the second all-time career scoring leader in Alabama basketball history. What player did Sears recently pass to move into second place? 1-800-239-WJOX. Question again. Mark Sears is the second all-time career scoring leader in Alabama basketball history. What player did Sears recently pass to move into second place? Your calls are welcome at 1-800-239-WJOX. The first person that gets that correctly, we will give you the information to get in touch with Rodney for a VIP membership. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
That is perfect.
Sounds great. I'm telling you, I've got a tricky one for you next week, Pat.
I'm looking forward to it. You've been kind of teasing it, so you better not disappoint us, Rodney. I know you.
Hey, I think it's a good one.
As long as it has something to do with Corpus Christi and Friday nights when you were a teenager, then I'm all about it.
Well, it won't have anything to do with that, but it's a good one.
All right, Rodney, listen, we always appreciate it, buddy. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you.
Okay, guys. Appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you. That is Rodney Orr. Join us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be joined live in San Antonio by Landrum Roberts. Porter Moser is scheduled to be with us in just a couple of minutes, live from the Final Four. This is Jocks 94.5.
It is a Thursday live from San Antonio Radio Row, San Antonio, Texas. Side of this year's Final Four, our Radio Row coverage is brought to you by Wrangler. Here's to the early risers, the go-getters. Shop Wrangler.com for new denim styles to kickstart your day. Wrangler for the ride of life. A guy who grew up in the Midwest. I bet he's got a pair of Wranglers. It's Oklahoma head basketball coach Porter Moser joining us here on Three Man Front. Coach, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. There's so many ties. You were just talking about Coach Wimp Sanderson, who joins our show every single Friday, and all the wisdom that we get from Coach. You got a funny story about Wimp?
I got so many of them, but I worked for Coach at Arkansas Little Rock, and then I ended up being so blessed that he brought me there because that was how I got my coaching start as a head coach. I took over as the head coach there. But Coach is just one of the all-time best in our profession. It was so great to see him, and when we played out at Alabama, it was my best 10 minutes that whole night because after I talked to Coach, the next 2 hours was miserable. But it was just so great to see Coach at Alabama and visit with him. He's just always just so good to coaches. So just such a good, funny, guy that just was really smart when I worked for him. That was one of the things that, he always had great players, but people don't realize how smart he was as a coach.
He's actually pretty funny too.
He's so funny.
You never know what he's going to say.
Oh, he's the funniest of how he is to the athletic director. That relationship is like none other. Watching him control the room.
No doubt. The Final Four, it's got to bring back some memories from not too long ago for you with that Loyola Chicago team and that amazing run that you guys had. I say it amazing with all due respect, but the Final Four run and then another Sweet 16 appearance. I do have to ask you, though, first. Sister Jean, do you still talk?
Absolutely. So, sister, this past August, I was back with her, and she turned 105. And she was smart as a whip. She had a birthday party, and she had tables, and a centerpiece was some kind of story from every decade of her life. And she had the microphone and spoke 30 minutes, telling jokes, clear as a whistle about that. And then in August or in October, we had those closed scrimmages. We scrimmaged Marquette up at Loyola's campus. And I had her come out, and she prayed with the guys, and then I had one of my guys who just had a foot surgery, and she goes, "Put that foot up on my lap." And he's from Oklahoma, so he's looking at her, so he puts his foot up, and she's rubbing his ankle and like saying a prayer, and he thought it was gonna be like a 10-second prayer, and she's like on minute two, and he's wobbling with one leg trying to stand up, but she's a character, she's great, and just a blessed, unbelievable human being, how she pours into other people.
When you reflect, and I know that you focus on the job at hand right now, but when you go back and you have time to reflect on that run that you guys had that year to the Final Four, anything that stands out where you still just go, wow?
Well, there's a million wow moments for that, and but like it's nostalgic. Last night we rolled into San Antonio because the last time we was in San Antonio was our Loyola run. So we went by the hotel as we rolled in, and just so many memories. But the thing about it is when you're at a mid-major program, we were really good that year. We were going into the conference tournament, and we were 25-5, and we beat Florida. No one would play you at a high major, so we had one high major game. It was at Florida. They were 5, and we won. But they still said it at 25-5 that we weren't in. So we played the first game against Northern Iowa, and you could just feel the pressure in the room. And that was, out of our whole run, that was that was the hardest one. We only won by 2. Then we played Bradley, and then by the championship game, we beat Illinois State. So we got in the tournament, and we won. We beat Miami on a last-second shot, then Tennessee on a last-second shot. But this is the cool wow moment for me. When I took over Loyola in 2011, I'm from Chicago. I'm a diehard sports fan of Chicago. And, I went to a Jesuit school. I played at Creighton. And everyone was like, from 2011 before that, they had 26 losing seasons out of 30. It was really rock bottom. And everyone's like, Porter, it's a pro town. It's a pro town. And I said, no, it's a sports town. In Chicago, they will love you if you can get it going. They just love sports. So I was driving down Lakeshore Drive in 2016, and the Cubs won the World Series, and the skyline was lit up, and the buildings had in there, it said, "Go Cubs." And I have the picture of the Chicago skyline at my house. Now, and in 2018, when we beat Kansas State to go to the Final Four, my phone was blowing up, and the skyline was maroon and gold, and it said, "Go Loyola."
Oh, wow.
And I have those pictures side by side in my house and in Chicago. And that was a wow moment to see the city of Chicago get so much behind our team. And you know what? That's so great about college basketball. And I'm in the number 1 conference in the country. But if you look at the Sweet 16, it's the first time ever that all 16 teams are Power 4. And you just don't know. You look at how loaded those teams are. You look how loaded the Final Four. You just, with retention, if you get on a run, with those guys leave, are you going to have those runs again is a big question.
I do want to ask you, and we'll get into it, about the matchup we're going to have between two teams that you know very well from our own conference in the Southeastern Conference. But for this year, entering SEC play, you guys were great in the non-conference, but we knew, did you know that the conference was going to be this tough, so competitive, and just stacked from top to bottom?
I tell you, behind the scenes, our coaches, we talked about it last summer on the road. We saw who people were signing in the portal. We saw the people that had guys back, the additions they were making in the portal, and we were, I mean, do you ever know that it's going to be 14 out of 16 teams get in, or 14 of the 16 teams spent time in the top 25? But, you know, we all know who's signed. We were like, holy cow, look at the guys they signed in the portal combined with the guys they had coming back. So it was a daunting thing. We started out 13-0, 10th in the country. We beat Michigan, who won the Big Ten tournament, Louisville, which was second in the ACC, and we beat Arizona, which was second in the Big 12. And we got in and we opened up against Alabama. That was our first game, and I remember we had this young 18-year-old Jeremiah Fears.
God, he's so good, guys.
And he's on draft boards, and he just turned 18. He came to us at 17. He was supposed to be in high school. He reclassified in August. And you could just see Mark Sears, like, it's just like he came for his head. Like, here's Mark, like a fifth-year senior. He's not as high in the draft board. He's like, who's this little kid? And you could just see him going for his head. And you felt like that right in the beginning. And Jeremiah started out tough. It was tough for him the first 5-6 games in the SEC. And to his credit, or my staff's credit, we just kept on pouring into him, watching extra film mentally, because he is so gifted. And then it just started to click, and he was getting better and better. And by the end, we were on a roll.
Would this be a fair description, Coach? When I watch Jeremiah Fears play, it looks so effortless.
Yeah.
He's just so smooth in everything that he does.
He has positional size. He's sometimes, you know, he's not a 5'11" point guard. He's legit 6'3" with like a 6'5" wingspan. But his gear is, I mean, he can go rim to rim so effortlessly, and he can turn the corner, and he's physical offensively, and that's what I didn't know. I thought he was, 17, 18-year-old, you're going to play against 23-year-olds. He had more of a problem on defense with the physicality, but offense, he went to the foul line over 200 times. He could drop that shoulder and kind of hit you and go up and score. But I'm so excited for him. I know we knew it was coming.
Yeah.
We've been talking through the whole process. But he officially announced it yesterday that he was going to go, and he's projected to be a lottery, and just poured into him. And just so happy for him and his family.
A few more moments. Coach Porter Moser, Oklahoma Sooners, joining us here, part of Westwood One, Jocks 94.5's coverage here from Radio Row in San Antonio. Auburn and Florida. The first game we're going to get on Saturday evening. You played both of these teams. It's a rematch. Florida winning the first one, of course, at Neville Arena. But when you see those two teams in the rematch, how do they stack up?
Just an unbelievable matchup, positional size. Like, they both have such, they're 6'11", 6'10", 6'8". I mean, they're positionally daunting when you walk up how long they are. The second thing is they have phenomenal shot-making ability. Like, I remember when we played at Florida, like the first 5 stops of the game, we got we got 5 stops in a row, and we're feeling pretty good about ourselves. And then Clayton comes off a ball screen, right to left, 28 feet, stops on a dime and shoots a dagger from 28, comes down, does the same thing, and it's like bang, bang, they had 6 points in like 12 seconds. And they have that ability, and Auburn has that same ability. Auburn does a great job of adjustments. You guard it one way, boom, they're going to do that. They do a great job with adjustments. Defensively, just get after it. They just get after it. But the positional athleticism and length can overwhelm you by these teams. And Alabama was in that same mode.
Coach, you're here on behalf of Coaches versus Cancer, and cancer, unfortunately, it's affected us in some way with me and my mother and other family members, and I know you as well. But what is the initiative this week and to get the awareness up for everyone, not only here in San Antonio?
Well, Coaches versus Cancer has been such a partnership with the American Cancer Society. And like you said, everybody is affected by it. I lost both my parents to cancer. And to bring awareness, our society, as humans, we've overcome so many things. we're going to beat cancer. We just got to keep pushing and beating it. And the awareness right now, the science, the technology, the early detection, it's the getting the word out to get tested, do early detection, because you can save lives, you can save loved ones. And it's just an awareness and a partnership, and just very proud to be on it, trying to help push and bring awareness to it.
Coach, I want you to take this the right way. I've respected you in watching your career from afar, but never. You're so full of personality. Who wouldn't want to play for you?
I appreciate that. I need to take you along. I got 2 Zooms coming up in my hotel room, so come on.
How many days are you in the gym, by the way? You got look. Let's people on radio, they can't see it, but you arm day is a part of your routine.
I'm telling you this. You've got to stay healthy. You got to stay extra. It's the best stress reliever in life is to get in there and just wear it out. But thank you with that. But it's it's a new diet also. It's called stress. It's a great diet.
No, you guys aren't stressed, right? Especially this day and age. Coach Moser, thank you so much for joining us. Porter Moser joining us as a part of our coverage along with Westwood One here in San Antonio from Radio Row as we continue here on this Thursday. 3-Man Front and Jocks 94.5. Welcome back in, three-man front live from San Antonio. It's Radio Row. Our friends at Westwood One. Lots of coaches that are dropping by. We're going to be joined by another coach that you will recognize in just a moment. But we always remind you that Werner, the official ladder of NCAA March Madness and the official ladder of construction professionals everywhere. Conquer new heights with Werner. Available locally at Truebuilt Construction Products. Donnie Lynn, head coach of the Mount St. Mary's. He has faced one of the teams that we're going to see inside of the Alamo Dome on Saturday, that being a team called the Duke, Blue Devils. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing great, thanks. How are you?
Wonderful. Mount St. Mary's, it is that team where, and let's be honest, in this, or our part of the country in the Southeast, it's a name, if you're talking about a mid-major or one of those teams that people, if you ask just everyday college basketball fan, you remember one of those teams. I think Mount St. Mary's would be one of the teams that they say, yeah, I remember them from tournaments. There'll be a couple of others, but what you guys have been able to do has been really impressive.
Thank you. The Mount has a really cool tradition, to be a first-year head coach, and this is my first job, and to get a job like this where they love basketball, they care about basketball, they always have. Jim Phelan was a coach for 49 years and won 840 games and went from Division II where he won national titles and took to Division I and made the tournament consistently like you're talking about. There's very few programs like that at this level that can sustain that success over such a long haul.
And it's such a challenge because we were talking before we came on the air, and you made your way just recently and coming down to Homewood to take on Samford, Bucky McMillan, there at the Pete Hanna Center. But for programs like yours, programs like Bucky's, it seems like it's becoming increasingly difficult to keep some of those, and you've seen it, it's evidence. There are a lot of really good basketball players on your roster, on Bucky's roster. Now with NIL, I'm afraid that maybe some of those Cinderella stories could be going away.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to keep believing. We're going to keep trying to put the best rosters together we can. But, you saw it in a year like this year that, there's just the gap is growing a little bit, especially from the 14, 15, 16 seeds to the 1, 2, and 3 seeds. That gap has grown, I think. And so at our level, we're feeling like, hey, we got to try our best to push up a seed line, or two, where we can give ourselves a chance to win another game. And show, what we're able to do. And in order to do that, obviously you got to have really good players. You got to schedule well. You got to win some non-conference games and give yourself a chance to move up a little bit.
I know that you had goals coming into the season, but doing what you guys did and getting to the NCAA tournament, not only getting there to Dayton, but winning a game and getting the opportunity to play again, describe what it meant.
Yeah, I mean, certainly exceeded my year one expectations for sure.
They're going to expect that every year now, right?
I know. I had to keep reminding my boss and my president that, hey, this is not normal, what we did here. It's, it means so much because, we all, you get a job for the first time and you've been an assistant for 15 years and, I think I have an idea of how I want to do things. I want to build a culture a certain way. I want to coach a certain way. I want to play a certain way. And I want our teams to look, act, and, behave a certain way. And, when in your first year you can, start to establish that and then win, it's so rewarding and gratifying because, reaffirming like, okay, we can do this. We can build on this. Again, especially if we can retain some players, now they can help push this to another level, really with the culture piece. I think especially at this level, if you can have a culture that sustains, you got a chance because there's so much turnover in players that if you can have something that is firm, that they're coming into, that they understand, hey, this is how we do things, and it works, it can really help you.
Do you have to get more creative? I know you can't think about what a kid's going to do, and ultimately if he has success and he has a financial opportunity to go somewhere else, but do you try to get creative in certain guys, and maybe it's character or a background that you bring in that maybe would maybe impede them a little bit from wanting to go somewhere else?
Yeah, I mean, the Mount is a small school, right? 2,000 students. It's in a rural area, right? In northern Maryland. We got to get the right student athletes, period, that are going to fit on a campus like that. And because of that, I think that there's sometimes a draw for them to stay a little bit longer because they know this is a home for them. It's a place that they can, be really successful at. When you get away from that because you get allured by a certain type of talent, maybe those are the guys that are quick to say, hey, one good year and I'm out of here. And so we try to avoid that as best we can in recruiting and understanding guys that are a good fit for the place, not just for me as a coach.
Hey, now with Donnie Lynn. He is the head coach of Mount St. Mary's. The Mount, who were in the NCAA tournament this year, joining us here on Three-Man Front and Jocks 94.5. You faced the Duke Blue Devils, and look, I don't know. You told your kids go out and play hard and enjoy the moment. But when you look at this Duke team, and we've all seen them play, what just stands out to you as a coach?
Yeah, the thing that scared me the most when you watch them on film going into the game, and then there's nothing you can do about it, is they have a mix of size and athleticism at the rim, so it's impossible to get a layup, and they shoot it so well. So, they can attack the rim and protect the rim, and then if you try to stop them from getting downhill and getting to the rim, they shoot it so well at, really at 5 spots at times that they're just bang shots. And, my philosophy in general is like, hey, we're going to try to not give up layups. We're going to say, hey, if you can make 15 or 16 threes, like, you're probably going to beat us. And most teams, they're not going to do that consistently. This is a team that can do that. And then once you start pressing out on those threes, they're throwing lobs and dunking the ball with those guys downhill. And, they're making those at 98% clip. There's not much you can do.
Yeah, and for the folks that are riding off Houston and Kelvin Sampson, he's going to have those guys ready to play.
Yeah, the thing that I think will be really interesting is Houston's physicality at the rim and on those guards of Duke. If Houston can establish that, it's going to take away some of Duke's aggressiveness, and then maybe be able to prevent some of those layups and dunks at the rim because they're not able to just drive downhill and then throw a lob or things like that. So,
final question. I know they're trying to get me to hurry. You've got other places to be, but Auburn and Florida, just looking at those teams, kind of 30,000-foot view, what do you see in that matchup?
No, I think it's a great game. Obviously, everybody knows they played. They know it's going to be a really good game. I think that, it's two teams that can both score and both defend. And so it's going to come down, I think, to, the little things, the defensive rebounding, the loose balls, those things, because it's probably be a 1 or 2 possession game, I would think.
Coach, thank you so much for taking time. Congratulations on this year. Heck of a run, and hopefully many more.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Donnie Lynn joining us here on Three-Man Front and Westwood One, part of our Radio Row coverage here from San Antonio, and all of our guests join us on the Higginbotham Hotline, guys. So, Donnie Lynn, very impressive.
Absolutely. That is Landrum Roberts in San Antonio at the Final Four. Let's go to the phones because I know many of you have been on hold. The Tighter Insider trivia question of the week for a chance for a VIP membership to his website. We're going to get to the phones now. The question again was, Mark Sears is the second all-time career scoring leader in Alabama basketball history. What player did Sears recently pass to move into second place? Let's go to Alan. He was first up on the board before we started our interviews. Alan, good morning. I hope you're well. Do you have an answer?
Hey, great interviews on Press Row. You're doing a great job there. That's been really enjoyable. He passed Leon Douglas and Eddie Phillips, and Eddie Phillips was 2.
You are correct.
In second, yeah.
You are correct. You said he passed Eddie Phillips.
He got 3rd and 4th place. He got bonus.
Yeah, he sure did. So, so Alan, congratulations. We're going to put you on hold, and Conrad's going to get some information from you, and we will put you in touch with Rodney Orr. And congratulations, and thank you so much for listening to Three-Man Front.
Hey, thanks.
Thank you. Hold on, and Conrad will get some information from you. We will come back. Rob Pate, outstanding defensive back for Auburn University. He was in attendance in Atlanta watching the Auburn Tigers punch their ticket to the Final Four. He will join us next here on Three-Man Front. This is Jocks 94.5. It is 11:47, Jocks 94.5. Man, we have been jam-packed from San Antonio, Texas. Landrum Roberts on the scene there at the Gonzalez Convention Center. We've already talked to the head basketball coach at Alabama State, University of Virginia, Mount St. Mary's, Oklahoma. We still got more interviews coming up from San Antonio. But joining us now on the Higginbotham Hotline, he was in Atlanta, Georgia for the Michigan-Auburn game. Joining us, Rob Pate, the outstanding former defensive back for the Auburn Tigers, joins us now, and a grandfather. How's that baby girl doing? She doing okay?
Oh, she's doing great. Yeah, beautiful. Got to see her yesterday. We had our grand ribbon cutting ceremony with the Chamber of Commerce yesterday, and so my daughter came, son-in-law, and got to see her, and it was her first little outing, so it was fantastic.
Very nice. Great to hear. All right, so tell us all about it. You were fired up last week when we talked to you that you and your boys were going to be able to go over to Atlanta and watch the Michigan game. Did you make that one and then the game against Michigan State, or just the one against the Wolverines?
No, just the one against Michigan, and it was phenomenal. Just an outstanding atmosphere. It was neat because everybody in the arena was for Auburn, other than the Michigan people. The Ole Miss people that stuck around where we were around, they were cheering SEC. The Michigan State people were cheering against Michigan,
right?
And then the Auburn people, of course, were all Auburn. So it was awesome. We had a great time, and it looked shaky there for a moment, but that run they went on, and then just the crowd's eruption was awesome, man. It was something we'll never forget.
Well, talk about that for a second, because it's interesting that a lot of people might not think that other SEC schools are pulling for SEC schools, but especially when you're going up against a Big Ten school, a lot of folks would like to prefer to have SEC in the Elite Eight as opposed to having to play a Yankee team. But just talk about how Auburn fed off that, because not only in that game against Michigan, but you could sense it, especially when Janai Broome came back in and hit that three-pointer. I mean, you could tell on television how electric it was with Auburn people.
Well, it was I think it was a well-deserved opportunity for Auburn to play in front of a home crowd for just the season that they had and being rewarded as the number one overall seed. That was about as one-sided of a neutral court as you can possibly have. And so I was super proud of the Auburn people. And yeah, I think there was pride for SEC as well. I mean, you've got two Big Ten teams, you've got two SEC teams, and I think that even in the Ole Miss Michigan State game, the Auburn people around us were all, pro Ole Miss. And even though I thought that matchup was one that could get a little shaky, having beaten them three times, I mean, the law of averages at some point come back and get you. And they were I thought a more athletic team and should have beat Michigan State in that game, I thought. But it was so many of us that have a hard time getting to Neville, even to get a ticket. If you're not a season ticket holder, it's easier to go watch Auburn on the road than it is at home. And so being able to take that enthusiasm and people that don't get to go watch them all the time, I think that was a lot of fun and memorable for folks.
How many people do you know are making the trek to San Antonio? Because Landrum is already there, and Landrum said he's already seen a good bit of Auburn people there in Texas.
I know several, and I know several students that actually won the student lottery, Abel, and that's an awesome deal for them. They're floor seats. They're $50 if you win. It transfers to the championship game.
Wow.
So they're all taking advantage of that, and the ones that got it. But this is huge for Auburn. Ben was there in 2019. Should have got the opportunity to play for the national title. Hopefully we have full health, and we have guys that can make a run. I mean, we're going to have to beat two teams that have likely already beaten us this season to be able to do it. But I think we have the firepower and we've got the team chemistry to get over the hump. And I do think that it's going to be a loud Auburn contingent there just because it's an eager fan base.
In regards to Janai Broome, it appears that his health, they're just trying to rest him up a little bit before he does anything. I think today they're going to let him do some things at practice or the walkthrough there in San Antonio. Your thoughts on him? How important is he in regards to him being 100% for this Auburn team to get to Monday night?
It's everything. I mean, I think he's had the best season and should be the National Player of the Year just based off production and the value that he provides to what Auburn does. That was very evident with the way Auburn started the game and the impact he has when he left the game. I would love to see him go at it in a national title match with Cooper Flagg, but listen, Florida's impressive, and when this tournament started, Florida was the hot pick because of how dominant they were at the end of the season and how much they just obliterated everyone in that SEC tournament. So Auburn, though, along with Duke, are the only two teams that really haven't had a scare in this tournament, so to speak. Where they've had to have a last-second shot or a come from behind, there in the last moment. So we'll see how it plays out. I think it's a tough matchup for Auburn because of the guard play that Florida has, but also the multiple big men they can throw at Jonai Broome. But I think Auburn can beat you in a lot of different ways. So I'm excited. It's the ultimate challenge, and I'm hoping that Auburn can come back with a national title.
Well, after you get past Florida, you've either got Duke or Houston, and most people would obviously say that they would prefer to see Houston because you've already played Houston and beat them. You've already played Duke, but you lost. Does Rob Pate have a preference between the two?
I think I would rather play Duke, just because I think that would be a huge storyline. I think the interest would be phenomenal. I think that Auburn is the most senior-laden team in the country. Duke is one of the youngest teams in the country, and at some point you have to think that, well, maybe the moment and just being in that environment, having all that experience that the Auburn guys have can be beneficial in a moment like that. But I don't know, these Duke guys and the way travel ball is now and the hype that they've readily given themselves, I think that. I don't know that any moment's too big for them. They're a talented group. That's a great basketball team, and I'm really impressed by the other guy that I can't remember his name, but he doesn't look athletic.
Knipple?
Just makes baskets. Yes,
Knipple.
Yeah, Knipple. I mean,
Yep.
It's just the way that he plays. I think that he's a glue guy for them, and probably gets overlooked, but he's phenomenal. But I don't know that there's a more athletic team in Houston. Houston is seems like they could line up and go athlete for athlete against anyone, and they play massively aggressive defense. So the great thing about this Final Four is that legitimately you can make an argument for every single team to walk away the winner, and I think that's intriguing.
That is Rob Pate, outstanding former defensive back for the Auburn Tigers, joins us every Thursday here on Three Man Front. Last question. If they cut down the nets on Monday night, will you be at Toomer's Corner rolling it?
Oh, absolutely. I'll be at Toomer's Corner rolling it, and then we'll be serving some soft serve premium frozen yogurt right here at Sweet Frog, when in celebration. But yeah, I mean, it's the Toomer's Corner. We didn't go after they got to the Final Four.
That was impressive.
Talking to people that were there, they said that was the most dense they've ever seen it. So I think that would set new records if Auburn's able to pull this off.
Well, it should be a really good game with Florida, and hopefully we'll get a national championship game with Auburn on Monday night. Rob, always appreciate your time. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, Pat. You too, man. War Eagle.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much. That is Rob Pate joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services. Did he mention free yogurt?
I do believe that is what he
said last
Maybe
week?
it was freeze yogurt, but
Freeze yogurt.
I heard free.
I still want him to send us some.
Yeah, but you don't want it to be melted by the time it gets here.
Well, there's something called coolers and freezers. You've heard of those, right?
I have not. I've never used one before, actually. Very intrigued.
You like your beer warm at the beach? Is that what you're telling us?
Yeah, I thought that's what everyone did. You go hold under the waves for a few minutes and let it cool off.
Do you like your beer warm or cold?
Can't say I do. I like it cold.
You like it cold?
Mm-hmm.
Like it is in the studio right now?
It's freezing in here.
Molly is
I've been shivering this whole day.
Oh, I
She
feel
is
great.
freezing.
I think it's cold in here. I don't know about in there.
Is it cold in there, Pat?
It's comfortable to me.
Yeah.
A little chilly.
Hey, it's okay. I'm normally the guy wearing a hoodie, so this is the first day I haven't worn one in a while.
You got your 18 South gear on.
That's right.
I like that. You got your hat on. You got your T-shirt. Reminder, Molly and I will be there tomorrow, and Molly's got her 18 South. Look at that. Everybody's
you just can't
got
see
18
it because
South.
I'm cold.
Pre-game in the remote.
San Antonio, we're coming back towards you next on Three Man Front. Have a very special guest with Landrum Roberts. That's next on our split broadcast, San Antonio Final Four.
Welcome back. It is a split broadcast live from San Antonio, Texas. Radio Row, a part of Westwood One. Landrum Roberts, three-man front, Jocks 94.5. Already a very busy show. Tony Madlock, the head coach at Alabama State. In the first hour, Ryan Odom, newly named Virginia head basketball coach. Also in the 10 o'clock hour, Porter Moser of Oklahoma joining us, and also Donnie Lind of Mount St. Mary's. And the fun continues, but before it does, always want to tell you about our friends at Wago. Trust your game, trust your wiring with Wago Electrical Connectors. Gear up at wago.com/hoops for your next electrical project. Bill Schoening, he is a legendary play-by-play voice. Now with the San Antonio Spurs, he has got one of his championship rings that he's wearing today.
I let you wear it for a while.
You did let me wear
Thanks for letting me have
that.
it back. I
and you
appreciate
said that. you had women actually trying to pick you up in a bar because you had that thing on.
That's why I always
you were
keep
married.
That's why I always keep this ring on. You know, if they ask about this one, I say, this is a wedding ring. You know, so anyway, but yeah, it works. It works to kind of keep them at bay, but at the same time, show it off. I actually don't wear it very often, but I knew today I'd be running into some old friends that might want to see it, and kind of the end of an era. The Spurs have 4 championships. 5 total, 4 with me as the play-by-play guy. So it's been a nice run, but not going to make the playoffs this year. We only got a few games left.
I do want to talk a good bit about not only the city of San Antonio and a lot of our listeners who are making their way up here right now. They could be here and some helpful insight from you. But we'll start back in your early broadcasting career before you became the voice of the San Antonio Spurs. There in Austin, Texas, with UT, and that's the other UT. We have to get used to it in the Southeastern Conference with them coming into the league this past year. But football, you were part of those broadcasts, and not only football, but various other sports. But you were there during a pretty interesting time.
Yeah, Ricky Williams, of course, won the Heisman Trophy in '98. I got to cover his entire career, every carry of his career, and he was really a special player. It was so much fun to cover him during that entire period of time. And then basketball was pretty good, too. It was picking up with Rick Barnes, who's now at the other UT. But Rick Barnes, of course, was at Texas. Before that, Tom Pender. So I got both those coaches. And then baseball was great during that period of time. We had a legendary coach named Cliff Gustafson, who was replaced by another legendary coach named Augie Garrido. So getting a chance to do college baseball at that level was also a lot of fun for me. But in '01, out of the blue, the Spurs basically made me an offer I couldn't refuse. And I knew they had just drafted Tony Parker, and they had drafted and stashed Manu Ginobili overseas. We didn't know how good he was going to be. But, of course, they already had Tim Duncan and David Robinson. So it was kind of a no-brainer for me to come down here to San Antonio and be part of this. And unprecedented success. I mean, they made the playoffs 18 straight years. They won 50 games 18 years in a row. One year there was a lockout and they only played 66 games. They still won 50. They went 50-16 that year. That's how consistent they were. And I got to see a great level of basketball for a long period of time. Really some unselfish basketball, a lot of assists. And on the defensive side, just off-the-charts defense with Robinson and Duncan and Bruce Bowen, some of the great defensive teams ever to play in the NBA.
Bill, in hearing about, and I will not name, well, I will, Pat Riley, I know that even members of their broadcast team at times they would complain, and some of them went on the record about, Pat Riley wouldn't let them on a plane coming back, and there was no other flights and stuff like that. And that seems like that's probably not the norm. But in the NBA, with travel and being around the team and covering that team and calling the games like you do, what is that dynamic? Travel at home, Coach Pop, what does that look like?
You're with them the whole time. You're basically part of a family, and you go everywhere with them. And it's nonstop. I always say it's like a roller coaster ride. You get on, you strap yourself in, and then you go. And there's going to be starts and stops. There's going to be ups and downs and twists and turns, and you don't know how it's going to end. Your stomach might hurt a little bit toward the end or somewhere during the middle, but you get through it, and you're all together. And that's the fun thing. And I've been with teams that won championships. The last 2 years, the teams have gone 22-60, but I've been able to have a good time each time. I just take game by game. You can't think the long term or think about what's going to go on in April in the playoffs when you know you're not going to make the playoffs in early January. So you got to find something to do, and it's game by game. And you look for little things. And I look for the development of young players in our system. Victor Wembanyama was Rookie of the Year last year. I think we're going to get the Rookie of the Year this year. Steph Castle from UConn. So the future is bright, certainly, with a lot of good young players in the program.
With the evolution of the game and the NBA has changed, I'll be honest with you, Bill, I used to be a really big fan of the NBA, and then I kind of fell out of love with it, and a lot of it had to do with lack of defense.
I understand.
And what they do at the other end of the floor.
Look, I'm a play-by-play guy, and I grew up watching tough defense. I'm from Philly, right, originally, and I grew up watching. Will Chamberlain grew up 3 miles from where I grew up, so I grew up around tough, hard-nosed, inner-city playground basketball. No harm, no foul, right? So now to see the NBA and see really every advantage goes to the offensive player. And one of the things, and it's a real stickler for me because I hate palming, because when you palm the basketball, you turn it over, you give the defensive player, you put him on skates basically, and the offensive player already has a lot of advantages. But if you're allowing a guy to carry the ball for a step, that's a travel to me, or carry, and you give the defensive player absolutely no chance. And these guys are good enough where they don't need the rules favoring them. They're crafty enough, they're skilled enough where they can get their points without any help. And then also defensively, let a guy bump a guy. We used to go back in the early 2000s when I was sitting courtside for every game watching David Robinson and Tim Duncan play against Shaquille O'Neal. There was a lot of banging going on, okay? It was a physical, tough game. And I'm not as bad as the 80s when Bill Lambier was taking your head off inside. Now, I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about dirty play. I'm just talking about tough physical play. And we just don't see that much anymore.
Spurs play-by-play voice Bill Schoening joining us here as part of Westwood One and Jock 94.5's coverage of the Final Four in San Antonio. I do want to talk about the city, and this is a city that you've gotten to know, and I had been here one prior time, and I enjoyed it. It was a brief time, but clean city, you feel safe. What are some of the things that the fans that or the listeners that listen to us that are fans of one of the schools that are going to be competing?
Sure.
What should they know about San Antonio and maybe things to do and places to visit?
It's got a great culture. The zoo is beautiful. There's a lot of parks here. If you went out and go outside of town a little bit, west of town, it's called the Hill Country. You just don't have to go very far to see really beautiful nature. But in town itself, as I mentioned, there's a beautiful zoo. There's several universities here, a lot of culture, a lot of museums up on Broadway. And one of the things I really like to do is take a walk on the Riverwalk and get away from the congested area of the Riverwalk as you go down toward the Pearl District. And it's only about a mile walk, and you get down to the Pearl District. There's an old brewery there that they turned into a luxury hotel called the Emma. It's the old Pearl Brewery, and there's a whole development there of shops and stores and restaurants, and you might see some guys out there playing the guitar and playing some music, and there's a couple of music clubs there as well. So I think it's a pretty cool spot. It's away from the congested area of downtown.
If you're an Auburn fan, you got to go to the Pearl District, right?
That's exactly right.
Why would you not?
They may rename it the Bruce Pearl District.
Yeah, why not?
That would only make sense.
I wrote this down on a piece of paper. I'm not plugging them, but I was told that this place has the absolute best hamburger and wonderful nachos.
It's a very good place. It certainly is. Chris Madrid's.
Chris Madrid's.
Yeah.
All right. So I didn't want to say it, and you roll your eyes like, no.
There's no other place called Sam's Burger Joint, and you go there and you get a good burger and you listen to some music. That's down in the Pearl District.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Alamo Dome. I've seen it for football, and we talked to one of the guys. He listens to our show, and he lives there locally in Birmingham. That was out here that helped set up the Final Four, and then he's coming back out here to break it all down. But from a basketball vantage point, the Alamo Dome.
No. Well, it depends on where you are, I guess. We did a game in here. I don't know if you remember this. A couple of years ago, the Spurs wanted to break the all-time NBA record for attendance, and they put a game back in the Alamo Dome. It was during the 50th anniversary for the Spurs, their existence, and they got 68,000 people in the Alamo Dome. Now, I don't know how many people saw the game very well. I was courtside and didn't see the game very well because I was in the second row, and the people in front of me were actually higher than I was. So even though I was in the second row at the Alamo Dome, I watched the entire game off a monitor. And I talked to many people. I got tickets for my family. They basically watched it off the big screen, even though they had pretty good seats. It's just not a great basketball vantage point for a lot of folks, just to be very honest.
Well, and hopefully, I think maybe they've made some modifications and learned from years past because that was one of the things that came up on the show earlier when he joined us in the week. Bill Schoening joining us here as a part of Radio Row. Anything else that people need to know that are coming to San Antonio?
Yeah. There's great restaurants all over town, no question about that. But again, if you just get outside of town a little bit, up to Austin maybe.
Yeah.
That's an hour away if you're a big music fan. Depends on how much time you have too. And now that Birmingham is part of the SEC and Austin's going to be part of the SEC for a long time, I guess you might want to schedule something in the future apart from San Antonio and go to Austin because they're two completely different towns. But Austin's where I live, and I'm a big music guy. Write music, a lot of musician friends. So any night of the week in Austin, you go out and listen to blues, jazz, rock, folk, country, singer-songwriter, whatever you're into.
I know you're not promoting your book, but it sounds interesting. What's the name of the book that you have out?
It's called Stories, Sports, and Songs. I wouldn't have written the book. I was going to wait until the end of my career to do it, but then COVID happened. I had no games to call, and I was climbing the walls with no games to call. So while I thought about writing a book, I might as well just start writing. So I ended up with 300 pages, and a group out of New York, Red Penguin, they really were interested in the book, and they published it for me. And I think the editor said at one point she wanted to rename the book 300 Pages of BS, which is basically what it is. But instead of writing, like I told you earlier, one long story, I wrote 100 short stories because I think short stories are easier to congest and understand, and a lot of humor too, because a lot of funny things have happened to me. I've been very, very lucky, but in small market radio, crazy things happen. Technical problems, people that you work with are a little weird, all kinds of different stuff.
You just have to deter the women at night spots from coming up and fawning all over you.
There's a whole chapter on that. No, I'm only kidding.
I'm sure you've got plenty of stories.
Well, if you travel enough, you'll see a lot of stuff.
I bet you do.
Yep, you do.
All right, Bill, thanks for joining us.
It's great to visit with you, okay? Welcome to San Antonio. Have a good time.
And thanks for letting me try on the ring.
You can keep it if you'd like.
Well, I will hold you to that. Yeah.
It'll help you when you go to these bars in town.
You are full of BS.
Yeah, I am. You're right.
Bill, thank you so much. Bill Schoening joining us, the Spurs play-by-play voice, as a part of our coverage here on Radio Row with Westwood One. If you need more data so you can stream your jam mix on loop, switch to Straight Talk. Get real unlimited data on a reliable 5G network. Straight Talk, available at Walmart or straighttalk.com. We continue our coverage from San Antonio. The Final Four, it's three-man front. You're home for championships. Jocks 94.5.
It is 12:15, Jocks 94.5 on this Thursday. Landrum in San Antonio. He'll be there the next couple of days. Molly and I will be at 18 South. Come on by and see us tomorrow at the Edge, right off of Green Springs Highway. We'll be there from 10 until 2. Think it'll be cold tomorrow, Molly? Because you're all bundled up today in studio.
It might. I'm going to bring a jacket just in case.
It's going to be 88 degrees. We're outside.
Oh, well, just in case. I'll have one.
Bring a jacket. Wear a sweater, Molly.
I get cold very easily.
That's so weird, though. You lived in Nebraska.
I know. In Michigan.
You went to class in snow.
I did.
And then you
Doesn't
get
mean
to
I liked it,
Alabama
though.
And you feel cold. Wait until you get older. You're really going to get cold.
Thanks,
Wow.
Landrum.
It's really,
You're welcome. You
really
should
making
be
the future
thanking
look
me.
I am.
bright
No,
for
thank
Molly.
you. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, looking out for you. That's when the circulation slows down just a little bit. And it's like, wow, I'm not supposed to be cold right now, but yeah, you are. Anyways, how about our friends there at Rambler Sports Bar and Grill? If you're going to watch the Final Four, if you're going to watch anything, whether it's Major League Baseball, the UFL, they have the Stallions watch parties. You can do it there at Rambler Sports Bar and Grill. They're open for lunch, and they have free parking. And if you're in a hurry, you can call ahead, and within 15 minutes, they're going to have your order ready, guaranteed, or it's free. But get in, check out the 283-inch projector screen and all the other video boards that they have. It's an upscale viewing experience and a great menu. Outstanding food and drink there at Rambler Sports Bar and Grill. And don't forget, beginning on Wednesdays, 5:30 to 7:30, their happy hour. They're going to have live music there at Rambler Sports Bar and Grill at the Finnick. 1630 2nd Avenue South near Railroad Park. Ooh, that's breaking news. We have breaking news here on the show, and for more, I'm sending it to one Pat Smith with this breaking news update. Pat.
Thank you, Landrum. I am now going to send it over to the other news breaking desk to Molly Robinson,
Good
who's
morning.
got a breaking
Working
story.
around the horn, kids.
Yes.
Good
Throw it
morning.
around. Throw it around.
Good evening.
Look sharp.
Good night, wherever you may be at. I have news coming out of New Orleans, and it has to deal with everyone's favorite former Tiger, Bobcat,
Tiger
Hilltopper, now Green Wave member. TJ Finley. According to Fox 8 in New Orleans, Finley was arrested on charges in connection to the robbery of a car. He has since been released from jail with no comment made yet by his representation, but according to the court documents, Finley told the police he had recently purchased the car in Atlanta. However, authorities reportedly booked him for being in possession of an item that was stolen at a value of more than $25,000.
Ooh. So the story claims that he owned the car, or he is saying that he told the police
He told the police that he bought the car in Atlanta. However, the police reported that he was in possession of an item that was stolen for over a $25,000 price, basically.
Yeah, I would probably wait to see how this one plays out. If he actually bought a car and then there was something in it that I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Because it was too easy and that was low-hanging fruit. And there's so many places I could have gone with that, but hope that's not the case. That's not good.
The football team did release a statement saying, "We are aware of the situation involving TJ Finley. He has been suspended from the football program pending the outcome of the case. Due to federal laws and student privacy, we will not disclose any additional information regarding the student."
Okay, so if you're keeping score at home, Conrad, let's work through this. He started at LSU.
Correct.
He went to Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
From Auburn, he went to
Texas State.
Or Texas State.
Texas
Bobcat.
State.
You're right.
Everyone's favorite Bobcat.
Then Western
Then
Kentucky.
Western Kentucky.
Yes.
And now Tulane.
Tulane.
To be fair, had a good year at Texas State.
He did.
Not so much at Western Kentucky.
No.
Or Auburn or LSU.
So one
or
out of-
Tulane, from what we're hearing right now.
Yeah, 1 out of 5 so far for TJ Finley. Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts as well.
Yeah, I'm $25,000. So jewelry, is that what we're thinking? Maybe
That's where I was going. Maybe there was some jewelry in there or
Could be,
something like that.
yeah.
but
Okay.
I'm sure the Tulane wide receivers are happy for at least a couple days of practice. Sorry, that was mean. That was mean.
But then that's TJ Finley, the player.
Correct.
And
Correct.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fair. That's fair. You can do that. I was thinking more just the aspect of his personal life and his future freedom, and that potentially
Well, yeah, that's not a joking matter.
Being in jeopardy. No, that's not a uniform you want to wear.
You know, I did not know what TJ stood for until Molly told me. It's not a joke, Conrad.
Okay.
You're making a face.
I was like, all right, where are we going
No,
here?
this is not. I was being for real.
I'm going to guess Timothy James.
I'll have to find the article again, but I think it's Tyler something.
Tyler
Tyler
Jamal.
Jamal. That's right.
Tyler Jamal.
Mhm.
I didn't know that
I just found that out today.
because you were reading the story to me during one of the commercial breaks, and I was like, wait, huh? Who? What?
Well, because the story I read, it just said Tyler Finley.
Well, so that's my thing is can he re-enter the transfer portal next year and go as Jamal Finley and he can just keep
Possibly.
changing his name and get an extra year of eligibility?
He could.
I was going to go with TJ in the initial standing for transfer, but I couldn't figure out the J. And what to do
Yeah,
with that.
see, I was like, there were a few ways you could have gone.
So he was a 3-star prospect out of high school. Did you realize that?
Yeah,
A couple too many, maybe.
I did. Pat would just listen. I know that Pat has tried to paint the picture for our listeners. I have never heard Pat about any other player based on playing ability be so critical of one player than he was on TJ Finley.
He was the worst quarterback in the history of the Southeastern Conference. Period. End of discussion.
Crazy.
It's not even close.
Oh, man.
It's funny because, there's a lot of people like, haha, that's a funny joke. But in reality, I mean, he would be at the bottom, very close to the bottom of that list.
Ask the 48,000 people that was at Protective Stadium watching that bowl game against Houston. The only thing that he has done good in his college career was lead Auburn to a victory against Georgia State. That's it.
Yeah, he saved Bo Nix.
That's it.
Yeah.
He took Alabama to 4 overtimes. Is that worth something?
He did that? Or was it the Auburn defense against Alabama?
Well, I mean, he was on the field for part
Wasn't
of
he
it.
playing on half an ankle?
That's right. It was a gutsy performance, Landrum.
He gritted that one out, guys.
He did throw for 24 touchdowns in 13 games at Texas State.
Yeah, he legitimately had a good year at Texas State.
He played 3 games at Western Kentucky. 3.
Yeah,
Including
we're
that
getting
Alabama?
recommendations on TJ and what it should stand for. Transfer jabroni?
That's a good one.
Transfer journeyman?
Hey, jabroni. I thought we were like going WWE here.
Transfer
good
junkie?
stuff.
Oh, there you go.
No, that's a good one.
What was the show? Was it called Intervention? We could have an intervention with him. He's addicted to the portal. It's a problem.
And
And he keeps getting opportunities. That's the other amazing thing. I'd like to know what his NIL is.
what is it?
No, I would like
you
to know.
don't
It's
know.
probably a lot because he keeps stealing headlines.
Does he still have the line, the Amazon collection? Remember with the throw pillows?
Oh, I forgot
and
that was him.
No, he had the throw pillows. I think I threw in the moped helmet. But
I forgot about that.
yeah, he had that. And was it the Chosen?
Oh, God, I hope
Wasn't
not.
it the Chosen one? And the number 1?
Possibly.
I'm going to go see if, there's somewhere I can find some resale.
TJ Finley gear, Amazon.
Is that out of high school, Molly?
Yes, it is.
All the schools that were interested in a 3-star quarterback prospect?
Yeah, these are all the schools that offered him, according to 247.
Yeah, Chosen one. That was right. He was chosen in the number 1, and I'm going to Amazon right now, and you can get a long sleeve, looks like it's pretty good cotton shirt for $21.99 right now.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know he was recruited by Pete Golding?
Dodged a bullet on that one. To be fair, if Pete Golding was the one that recruited him, he was probably looking for some wins in practice and thought that might help him out.
Oh, TJ.
He's still got, he's still got his gear. He's got a hoodie you can buy.
Yeah, there's one that even has like a picture of him on it for $29.99.
He's got a pop socket.
Wait. A picture
pop
of him?
socket?
Well, yeah, like in his football uniform.
Which one?
Auburn. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Y'all, they still have the throw pillow. Not
Oh,
kidding.
even better. This one doesn't look like it has a logo on it at all, so you can draw on his current team logo.
Yeah.
And then every year you can just, clean it and redo it.
Molly, he's got a TJ Finley tank top.
Oh, thank goodness.
I think will look cute on you. And then we've got the baseball type cotton long sleeve shirt, that you used to wear, Pat, under the uniform.
A
You've got
raglan.
the white there on the chest, a raglan.
Yeah.
There's a phone case. Okay, someone's got to get the TJ Finley phone case. I'm just saying.
Oh, and then the tote bag. That's great for the beach.
Yeah, Molly's over on our Amazon account right now. It looks like she's getting the tote bag and the tank top.
Molly,
And a pop
get the
socket.
tank top, Molly. That'd be
Okay.
so cute. So cute.
So cute.
Yeah, tied in with a fun pair of shoes.
I can't get the phone case because none of the phone cases are my phone.
I was about to say it's all from phones that don't
I
exist
bet it fit
anymore.
mine.
The pop socket's $15 though. That's like, come on, TJ. That's like a $3 item.
What does the pop socket do?
It's the thing you put on the back of your phone
You can, like,
so
hold
you
your
can hold it.
So you can do your selfies.
Oh, I needed that yesterday.
Yeah. If you'd have had
Great.
that yesterday, you'd been fine.
Yeah, that was really tough. Shout out to Molly for.
Thank you.
I have a new appreciation for the selfie videos.
Oh, folks, live in San Antonio, Texas, Landrum Roberts live at the Gonzalez Convention Center right there from the Tower of the Americas. Did you walk by the Tower of the Americas today? Did you enjoy that?
Yeah, man. That thing is like, let me be careful here. Yeah, it's like a poor man's needle. Right?
No, I mean, it's much, it's not, it's taller than these, that's the Sphere in Las Vegas, right, Molly?
Yes.
This is the one that's right outside, right? Outside of the convention center.
Yes.
Okay.
You can't miss
Okay.
it.
I was like,
it was
surely
built
I
for
don't
the World's Fair back in the 60s.
I just like that Landrum thought, I guess, like the mayor of San Antonio was listening in and he didn't want to.
Well, he doesn't want to get kicked out
which
of there.
is very nice.
No, it's just a nice place. I could live in San Antonio. Pat? You say yes?
Absolutely. I mean, I live there. I checked that box.
There are other big cities that it seems like San Antonio, they've got, I'm a little bit bummed because I'm a thrill seeker, and Six Flags San Antonio, I'm not going to be able to fit it into the trip.
How about
They got some
SeaWorld?
really cool attractions. No, I'm not going back to SeaWorld.
They have one of those in San
Never
Antonio?
doing that again.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. If SeaWorld would ever put a great white shark in captivity, I'd go see it. I'd pay top dollar to go see
That
it.
would be cool. I agree with that.
But the shark would die. But for a few days, you'd probably draw a lot of people.
Well, Shamu's pretty cool too, but I guess not for Landrum.
Well, it depends on what trainer that you're talking about.
You and Dorothy need to go see the Japanese sunken gardens. There's 5 old Spanish missions around San Antonio you can go visit.
Okay.
Hang out.
All right. What else? I got to go to the Pearl District now.
Uh-huh.
Bill Schoening telling us about the Pearl District.
Yep.
The Chris Madrid's place with the burger. I was told by locals, go there.
Good place.
Yeah.
What else?
There's a place up the road my Lyft driver told me that he takes a lot of people to, and it's called Tokyo Cowboy.
Is it like a bar or a restaurant or
No,
what?
I think it's a restaurant.
I mean, you're going to take a picture of the field I threw the no-hitter, right? You're going out there, right? I gave you directions.
You can't put that on me.
My kids are wanting that.
We have people that are listening right now, and they're on their way and actually driving. Just thought that they would make the drive. From Birmingham, it's around 12 and a half hours.
It's a nice drive.
It's not too bad. Conrad, how long was the trip out to Norman?
Ooh, 10, 11 hours.
Okay. By the way, Bill Schoening was telling me a story off the air about Rick Majerus, the late basketball coach. He used to join us in the Sonny and Wimp show, but Rick Majerus, he was just a hoot. Pat, you remember Rick Majerus.
Absolutely.
St. Louis, Utah, and just a fun guy. But Bill Schoening, and I wish Conrad had been listening when he was telling me this story, but he was talking about Majerus, and he said, when we go out, we need more players that don't get out of the shower to take a pee. And I thought, man, that would be perfect.
Sign me up.
We had captured that, and that could be Conrad's. When we introduce Conrad, just play that soundbite. So, according to some basketball coaches, Conrad, they like players like you.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a good thing. It shows camaraderie, and you're not worried about the little things like cleanliness. You're focused on, the fundamentals of the game.
Okay.
Now, they claim that Greg Maddox used to go and do that on teammates without them knowing, and then as a joke. I think I'd have a problem with that.
Yeah,
You probably enjoy it.
that one, I don't know. Now, if they've been stung by a jellyfish, obviously, you got to help them out. But
Unreal.
Our friends at Westwood One, I'm sure they're really impressed.
This is why we sent you out
4
here.
hours a day, baby.
Well, I'll tell you, someone that is always impressed, and that's courtesy GMC in Trussville. You need to get out to Trussville right off of I-459, exit 32. And the month of March closed just outstanding for the guys there at GMC in Trussville. And you need to get out there and see what kind of deals they got going for you right now, whether it's the GMC Sierra 1500, the SLTs, the Sierra Denali's. How about the Yukon XLs, the Yukon Denali's? Man, they got it all right there for you. I drive an Acadia, the AT4, outstanding Denali package in those as well. How about the Terrains? My parents own a Terrain, just an outstanding crossover vehicle. They've also got some wonderful certified used vehicles right there on the ground, ready to go as we speak. All makes, all models. You got to check out their vast selection, not only the new inventory of GMC, which they will not be beat by anybody around the Southeast. Courtesy GMC. Go to courtesybirmingham.com. Check out all the great deals they have, not only on those new GMCs, but of course, those brand new, those certified used vehicles there at Courtesy GMC. Go by and see them or visit them online, courtesybirmingham.com, right off of exit 32, I-459. More three-man front, Final Four edition on Jocks 94.5. It's 12:35, Jocks 94.5, Landrum Robertson, San Antonio. Molly, Conrad, myself, high atop Red Mountain in our studios of Cumulus Media. Welcome back to Three Man Front. This is Jocks 94.5. You can hear the Auburn coverage of the Final Four right here on Jocks 94.5 on Saturday.
Well, it's April, and did you know that diamonds are April's birthstone? So whether you're thinking about popping the question or you're celebrating an anniversary, maybe finding the perfect Mother's Day or graduation gift for someone, you need to check out Diamonds Direct because they have the best selection, the best deals, and a vibe that makes shopping a lot of fun. Plus, they have free cleanings and lifetime upgrades, so that gift that you're going to give to that person will always look like it is brand new. So hurry in. It is Diamonds Month at Diamonds Direct.
All right, so last night late over in Chavez Ravine in Southern California, the Atlanta Braves. What?
I mean, how many times do we have to let our listeners know?
It was just the second time in the whole show.
We're resetting the headlines.
It felt like the sixth time.
I'm sorry, Landrum.
How about the seventh time?
You
saw what I did there?
See what you did.
Game tied 5-5. This is the way it sounded on Jocks 94.5 as some guy named Otani stepped to the plate.
Cheater.
Well, they all came to see this man. It's Shohei Ohtani bobblehead night, and 50,000 plus in unison stand as he climbs into the left-hand batter's box. He's 2 for 4 in the game. Iglesias goes to work. First pitch swinging in a fly ball, deep center field. Michael Harris back to the wall. Michael leaps. It is gone. And on his bobblehead night, Shohei Ohtani dishes the Braves a crushing blow. It's a walk-off home run and an 0-7 road trip for the Braves.
So the Braves lose on the road. They have today off. They'll be back at it tomorrow. The last team to start 0-7 and make the postseason was back in 1995 when the Seattle Mariners made it. No team has made the postseason after an 0-8 start.
Do you think Ippei Mizuhara had a Shohei Ohtani anytime home run yesterday? I just didn't know if he was, staying up late for that one.
Yep, probably.
All right, so the Braves are off today before they start a 3-game home series with the Miami Marlins, who are 4-3 on the season. So
if they sweep the Braves.
So the Braves are 4 games behind the Marlins. 4 games behind the Marlins.
Yeah.
And then the homestand concludes with 3 against the Philadelphia Phillies.
You're getting the tough ones out of the way early, right, Landry?
Why can we not play in the AL Central?
Yay!
Yeah, they're all, 2 and 3?
We're all 2 and 4. It's great.
4.
Yeah, we all have the same record. It's awesome.
All right, let's hear.
At least then we would only be 2 games out of first place.
True. Let's hear from the current manager of the Atlanta Braves, Brian Snitker, after last night's tough loss.
We have yet to play the complete game, and we scored a few runs. Have potential for a lot more, really. But we got to play 27 outs, and we're having a hard time getting that done. I don't wish this on anybody, honestly. In a competitive arena, and what we're going through is tough, very tough. I mean, and you can, and everybody knows it. That's the thing. Those guys in there are more aware of it than y'all are. And they feel it more, and it's hard. There's nothing you can do but just continue to fight your way out of it and show up. And you know what? It was more, that was more of a real game than we played, I think, in 6 days or whatever. You know what? It's a shame that we lost it, but you know what? That's up to us. I mean, we had it there and we couldn't finish the deal. So we're going to take a day off and reset and hopefully come out and get something done.
Start over. Just start over. I love Snit. I respect him. But those guys that are maybe more aware than we are getting paid hundreds of millions of dollars in most cases.
All right, so one of those guys that signed a big new contract last year, Austin Riley, met with the media last night. He had this blunt assessment of not only the team's play, but his own.
It's tough, tough. I mean, it really is. I from a personal standpoint, it's honestly embarrassing what I've displayed offensively, and I've got a lot of work to do. It's from an offensive point. There's no excuses. It's embarrassing.
It truly is. He's batting 111.
That new hitting coach is paying dividends, isn't it?
111. He was 1 for 5 last night. He only had 1 strikeout. But his on-base percentage is 172. So even if you're not getting a hit, try to get on base, but he's not doing that either.
Bright spot of these first 7 games for me has been Spencer Schwellenbach.
Schwelle, you're welcome.
Yeah.
If it makes you feel any better, the Braves and the Yankees have the same record over the last 2 days.
That does not really do it for me, Conrad.
Okay.
Thank you.
That doesn't make you feel better?
I'm trying.
I appreciate it. No, they still have 3 more wins than we do.
Well,
if the Braves win, all right, so let's go around the room. When do the Braves get their first win? Does it happen against the Marlins?
I think it happens tomorrow night.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
And they just go
home
on you
opener?
think they go on a crazy run? Is there any way we get back to 500 on the
On this homestand? No.
No.
I think y'all are going to take 2 or 3 from the Marlins.
Yep.
And then just try to get 1 against Philadelphia, get some confidence.
So
back.
that means you
That's
go back
fair.
on the road with a 3.
You're going to be, what, 3-10?
3-10? So you'd still be 7 games out of it. So you're saying going 500 at home.
I mean, at this point, let's just win a game. Forgot what it feels like. Thanks for bringing me down.
When's Acuna coming back?
Tomorrow night.
Do you want to come back?
Tomorrow? Did you want to come back? Just take the year off?
No.
Him and Strider both just rest up?
Yeah. Just say that your knee's not ready. Still doesn't feel good.
Well, I'm looking at something right now. It has the Braves still with the 3rd best odds to win the World Series.
I think that was
What
was
a
preseason.
Yeah, it might have been.
Yeah, that's preseason. That is not current.
No.
There's no way.
That's a burner account. Somebody putting that out there. That's Jeff passing with 1 less A.
All right, so let me ask you this. This is not a Pat Ponders question, but this is a serious question because I hear it from a lot of my relatives are Braves fans. You know that, Angel.
Yes. What happened to you?
Yeah, just
that's the one that got away. That's all right.
they're not fans of Snitker. Even when the team was winning, they didn't really like Snitker.
Really?
So my question is, who's going to be the fall guy here? Is he going to be the fall guy?
No, I don't think he'll be the small guy or the fall guy. Well, he's approaching 50 years with the organization.
Okay, so if this team goes 68 and 73?
Well, yeah, they might.
No,
93.
93.
Whatever
sorry,
the math
68,
is.
93.
Yeah, okay, I know what you mean. Yeah, he might be encouraged to hang it up.
And it didn't come at a good time. Did you see where the Braves announced yesterday that they just purchased 35 acres across from the stadium and they're going to build this new fancy whatever? Mm-hmm. And you're just like going, oh, you don't spend a lot of money on free agents, but we're going to buy a shopping center. That made a lot of people happy.
Hey, that's a Freddie Freeman worth of shopping centers right there, Pat.
It is. 35 acres of goodness across from the pedestrian bridge. And the team's 0-7.
The stock, though, is still doing pretty well.
Well, Liberty Media. I mean, they're diversified.
That's all they care about, Pat. You know that.
Well, I mean, I think the Braves and the Cardinals are about equal in regards to who they signed in the offseason, maybe one person. So, I know
you're feeling pretty good about your team.
Yeah, our catcher, backup catcher, hit 3 home runs yesterday. That was pretty good.
That is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, backup catcher. Yeah.
The only thing that I will, and I try to tell myself, and so Braves fans that are about to jump off the top of Truist, playing the Padres and the Dodgers on the road to open the season. Now, there's no excuse for as bad as they're playing, and if they keep the lack of hitting, and maybe last night was a good sign, but the lack of hitting, that's going to be problematic if that doesn't improve. But you're playing 2 postseason teams to start the season. Not that it excuses 7 straight losses, but maybe they find their.
It was
their
a tough
form
start to the
against
season.
Landrum, we had
some rosters that aren't as impressive.
We had to start off with the Dodgers too, and we got swept by them too. So
I know.
I know.
But you've won 2 games since then.
Yeah, we won 2 against the Mariners. Now we get the White Sox at home.
Hey, White Sox are better this year.
Yeah, they're better.
Now I know how Missouri basketball fans felt. last season.
Going 0-19?
Yes. Yes.
It gets better.
Man, I never thought going into this season, I thought last year, great opportunity to win a World Series. I thought it was awesome. Just that roster.
Is Barrett on the show tomorrow, Conrad? Or
he's going to be on the show.
He is catching all kinds of crap for this.
Yes, he is.
People are blaming him.
Braves fans blaming Barrett. That's stupid.
Well, he'll have the chance to defend himself tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock.
Yeah, what was the one text we got yesterday saying that Barrett was horrible on his college football picks on the show, and now it's his fault that the Braves suck?
Yeah, we got another one of those today.
Did we?
Uh-huh. We've had some people that are just trying to connect the dots of what's going on with the Braves, and they're looking for somebody to blame, and unfortunately, Barrett is that person for a lot of people.
Tripp says we are sweeping the Marlins. All right, Tripp, go Braves. Chop on.
Well, who's that being loud down there?
Man, that's the guys across. I'll text you who it is.
Okay, please do. All right, that's Landrum. He's in San Antonio for the Final Four. If you've missed any of our interviews today, it's been just absolutely incredible. We had Tony Madlock, the head basketball coach at Alabama State. He was on. Ryan Odom, the head basketball coach at Virginia. Porter Moser, the current basketball coach at Oklahoma. I say current because there's a lot of rumors out there that he might be on the list for Texas A&M to talk to. Donnie Lind, who is the head basketball coach at Mount St. Mary's. We also talked to the play-by-play guy of the San Antonio Spurs, along with our good friends Rodney Orr and Rob Pate. We'd love to hear from you. 1-800-239-WJOX. The text line is open, brought to you by Courtesy GMC. That number is 205-834-9450.
1 o'clock here on this Thursday, leading you up to the Final Four. And our coverage here in San Antonio continuing here on Jocks 94.5 and Three-Man Front. Landrum Roberts here on Radio Row, courtesy of our friends at Westwood One. We appreciate them for bringing all of the guests we've had on the show by today. And after we go off of the air, there's going to be more guests that they're going to be bringing by. So I'll be hanging out and hopefully have some stuff that we can put there at Jocks 94.5 and Three-Man Front there on the social media feed. And it's just a whole lot of fun, and it's kind of a who's who. Porter Moser, Oklahoma coach, Pat told us in the last hour some of the smoke that's out there with Texas A&M searching for a replacement for Buzz Williams, who left for the Maryland job. Porter Moser's name has been mentioned, and I mentioned to you guys off the air, I thought it was very interesting, and I did not ask him about that, but that his entire family is here.
Oh.
Looked like his wife, and they were all wearing Oklahoma gear. Let everybody know that. But if I'm going, all right, let's just really read into this, is there a chance that he is going to, if offered, take the job, and he wants his family here with him if he accepts it and not without him?
Okay. So a quick turnaround. San Antonio to College Station.
Well, yeah, quick turnaround, but also they're not there wherever they live and having to take the criticism. They're with him while the announcement is made. I don't know. Maybe Oklahoma fans are like, hey, move on if you got greener pastures. Who knows?
Maybe Trev's going to San Antonio later this week and they can rendezvous.
Yeah, I'm sure that there's plenty of that going on, not just with Porter Moser and potential other employers. How about our friends at Second Generation Masonry? These are your folks for professional concrete, cinder block, and beautiful stonework. Also, they do stunning backyard transformations just in time for the warm weather and entertaining outside. Outdoor kitchens, patios, fire pits, fireplaces, retaining walls, concrete driveways. Whether you're a commercial construction owner, superintendent, estimator, project manager, they do a lot of commercial work, but also if you own a home and you need somebody to spruce it up, give it some curb appeal, they can certainly do it. Every project comes with a 1-year guarantee. Find them online at secondgenerationmasonry.com. Make sure you tell them Landrum from Jock sent you.
So the first time ever, two SEC teams will battle it out in the Final Four as Auburn will take on Florida. The SEC's 21 NCAA tournament wins. It has set a new NCAA tournament record. It broke the ACC's record of 19 wins back in 2019. The SEC is the only conference to have teams in both the men's and women's Final Four, placing 2 in each. The SEC made up 21% of the initial NCAA tournament field, and they made up 25% of the second round, 44% of the Sweet 16, 50% of the Elite 8, and they held that 50% margin now in the Final Four. So it's been a banner year for the Southeastern Conference. And Landrum, as we get ready for potentially, there will be one team from the SEC playing for the title on Monday night. We hope it's going to be Auburn instead of Florida. But if that happens and the SEC can take care of business, it is going to be something to behold and written about for many years to come, just the dominant nature of this conference during the regular season and what they were able to do in the postseason and winning the national championship.
I thought it was really interesting in asking Porter Moser that those were some of the talks that they were having in their offices as they were monitoring the transfer portal and looking at the acquisitions that, whether it was Nate Oates or Bruce Pearl or even John Calipari and some of the other guys or other coaches were adding to their rosters, and they had a good idea of what that was going to look like. But I don't know if any of them expected 14 out of 16 teams.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
And I'm never going to say never again, but I think I'm like you, Pat. We're really going to appreciate the season of basketball we got, and it might not fully sink in until a few years from now.
And listen, it started in the non-con.
Yeah.
The dominant nature of what the SEC was able to do against the other conferences. And then once we started beating up each other, and we only went 500 in conference play in the SEC, but that did not hold them back because they got 14 teams in the SEC tournament, and now we've got 2 teams in the Final Four.
I wonder if NIL and the amount of money that that Southeastern Conference schools and their boosters are willing to put towards athletics. Everybody's known that. But the numbers that we're hearing that SEC schools have been spending on basketball talent I wonder if that caught the rest of the country pat off guard a little bit.
No, I think you're right. I think they're used to the SEC putting all their eggs in the football basket. But you look up and you look at half the league has been to a Final Four. Yeah. I'm talking about the head coaching rosters. So, I mean, it's pretty impressive. And so now everyone is having to take notice. And now LSUs of the world are starting to put even more money to NIL. So I think next year will be as competitive as it was this year.
Well, here's to the early risers, the go-getters. Shop Wrangler.com for new denim styles to kickstart your day. Wrangler for the ride of life.
When we come back on Three-Man Front, Landrum in San Antonio, us here in Birmingham. We will continue the conversation as we get ready for the Final Four. Reminder, we'll be at 18 South tomorrow, myself and Molly. Landrum will be back at San Antonio for another day of coverage. This is Three-Man Front on Jocks 94.5.
Welcome back in. It's hour number 4 of Three-Man Front. Landrum Roberts live from San Antonio, part of Westwood One's Radio Row coverage here from the Gonzalez Convention Center with the beautiful river that flows through San Antonio and the Riverwalk area right outside. We'll be taking all kinds of videos. We'll have more interviews after we go off the air of coaches and other notable personalities from around college athletics and beyond. And you can find that there at the number 3 Man Front on social media, as well as Jocks 94.5. And as always, I want to tell you about our friends at Dobbs Ford. I've talked to some Auburn fans that decided, you know what, we're not going to mess with the airports. We're just going to drive to San Antonio. Well, if you could do it in one of those new Dobbs F-150s, how about a Mustang? Maybe get one of the Mustang convertibles that they have in the inventory and really enjoy your trip. Explorers, Escapes, they're going to do it all, but the Dobbs Ford people, and that is what they are all about. They're just great people, and they're going to treat you like your family. Dobbs Ford, Alabama's largest showroom selection, top dollar for your trade. Beat any competitor's price. Go to DobbsFordBirmingham.com and make sure you tell the Goshens, Rachel, and Joey, and the entire team that Landrum from Jocks 94.5 sent you.
So some Auburn basketball news as they're down in San Antonio. We've hit the dead period in the transfer portal where there cannot be any contact with schools and potential players that's in the transfer portal. But last night, Auburn got a commitment from basketball guard Kayshawn Hall. He's expected to transfer Auburn. He played at University of Central Florida. He's a 6'7", 235-pounder, averaged 18.8 points, 7.1 rebounds per game this season. He had Zoom meetings with Kansas, Kentucky, Auburn, Arkansas, and LSU. And at the end of the day, he says, I want to be coached by the best coach in the country, and that is Bruce Pearl. So he gives Auburn his commitment. So that's a big get for Auburn. I anticipate that Auburn will be even more active next week after the Final Four has been completed. So will Alabama. Speaking of the basketball in the state of Texas, Texas A&M still looking for their basketball coach because yesterday a deal between Chris Beard and Texas A&M that a lot of people thought was going to happen, including people around the Ole Miss basketball program. Instead, Chris Beard uses it to get a brand new deal, a big raise in salary, as well as NIL resources to form a money pool that is going to rank now in the top 4 in the SEC. Texas A&M had made the push to nab Beard out of Oxford, but after the Rebels, he led them to the Rebels to the Sweet 16 this year. But Beard's new deal at Ole Miss will include a hefty pay raise and a pool of money for roster construction. A&M was prepared to offer him $7 million in annual salary to go be the Aggies head coach, which would have made him one of the highest paid coaches in the sport. Beard currently makes $5 million at Ole Miss, and that number will now go up. He ranked 12th in all of salary in college basketball this season. Bill Self is the highest paid, around $8.8 million.
One thing I did think that was interesting about this story is you had some reports coming out of people that covered the Aggies program yesterday that were reporting that the reason A&M was so, I guess, confident that this deal was going to get done is that there are some reports that Chris Beard was actually the one that reached out to A&M and said, hey, I would be interested in this position. So it's just interesting if that was a genuine interest of let's have a dialogue and see where this goes, or if that was kind of like you were talking about, Pat, simply a negotiation tactic to get a raise and stay where he really wanted in Oxford.
Well, he'd be the second coach in Oxford to do that. Lane Kiffin did the same thing. Some people would tell you.
Yep, he did. And I will tell you, talking to some Ole Miss people the night before, they gave me every indication in the world that they believed he was gone.
Yeah. Go back to the state of Texas, NIL, unlimited resources financially.
He's a Texas guy. He's from Irving, Texas.
Pat, how disappointed are your family members that are diehard Ole Miss Rebel fans? How, when you find out that the Grove is now the Chris Beard family Grove in Oxford?
Hey, as long as he keeps getting them in the Sweet 16, I guess they probably won't have a problem with it.
Have you been asked to increase your membership already?
Lane Kiffin has made it perfectly clear to everyone in the NIL that football still needs help.
Okay.
I bet Lane is not happy about this.
Don't touch my money.
I bet the women's basketball coach isn't either because she was.
She is definitely not happy.
So that's a great segue because I saw this and I had to hit a pause to read this multiple times to make sure I understand this. South Carolina women's basketball faces a financial deficit despite all of their success. And if you remember about a year or so ago, we told everybody about LSU having issues after they won the national championship in the women's game because, let's just be honest, they don't generate a lot of revenue. Yeah, it's fantastic that they win championships, but it's not one of the major revenue-producing sports on a campus. Well, this report says the South Carolina women's basketball team has averaged a deficit of $5.59 million over the past 3 years, a span in which the team has made the Final Four every season and won a pair of national championships. The largest shortfall was $5.7 million in those 3 years, came in fiscal year 2023. The lone season USC didn't win a title. Now, last year, the women's basketball team lost $5.6 million. The men's team had a profit of $3.5 million. So the women's team goes to the Final Four. They win the national championship. They have a deficit. And the men's program, as poor as they were the year before, they had a profit of $3.5 million.
It's really going to sting if that applies to this year as well.
Yeah.
When you were the worst team in the conference.
You know who it's going to sting the worst? Probably Shane Beamer.
Yeah. But when I saw that,
you got to find it somewhere.
So two of the most, I mean, I haven't seen any UConn numbers, but needless to say, LSU and South Carolina, two extremely every year top of the line women's
Successful.
teams.
Oh, yeah. I mean, them, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
From a brand standpoint.
And when you
Absolutely.
read headlines that LSU can't make money off their women's program, and South Carolina wins national championships and they can't win, I mean, they can't make money.
That's what's going to be the travesty if we start seeing Dawn Staley, Kim Mulkey led programs that are competing and winning at a high level. And then you have, I'm not saying those two schools in particular, but you take other women's basketball programs that are like those. And then all of a sudden we start seeing cuts when revenue sharing is implemented.
Yeah. I don't think there's any question.
And I know you mentioned UConn, but based on what we've seen from the men's team the last couple of years and the problems they've had, I'm not willing to bet that. I mean, because that's the biggest brand in women's basketball, in my opinion, still is UConn. And I mean, the men's team just won back-to-back titles, and we heard about the financial problems they were having, and Dan Hurley not being happy about it. So it's rough. Unless you're like Notre Dame, I'm sure they're still doing fine because they get to keep all the money for themselves.
All right, so
championships are great, but losing $5 million per year and then you add revenue sharing, and where that championships are great, thanks for the memories, but they're not going to hesitate to do stuff like that.
So much stuff going on in the world of college athletics right now, especially right now in the transfer portal. Take a listen to Grambling's head basketball coach. He's got a very interesting idea of what needs to happen with transfers who leave his program. Here's Mickey Joseph.
We understand. I think the kids understand if they're here and if they're sophomores and they have a big year and a group of five or a power five approach them and they have the finances to pull them out of there and I can't match the finances, then you know what, they're going to go. That's part of it. Coaches been doing it for years. So we shouldn't get mad as coaches when these kids make decisions to take care of their family. Because like I said, I'm going to say it again, coaches been doing it for years. But I also think there need to be a buyout. If they move up from me and go to group of five and power five, I should get kind of a compensation for that, you know? So NCAA, if you're listening to me, I need a buyout.
How about that? He wants a buyout. If a player leaves, somebody ought to buy him out. And that his program should get money.
What if when you sign an NIL deal, let's say, for example, you signed a $500,000 NIL deal. Maybe you get half of it up front and the other half you get at the end of the season, or if you decide to transfer, that money goes back to the university. So in that sense, you're still getting paid for what you do that season, but you're not going to get the full amount of money unless you are staying committed to that program.
Right now they can do that. They have all of these collectives. They have that at their disposal. The problem is you get a kid where school X that he's choosing between and school Y, school X says, well, no, we're not going to do that. We'll give you the money up front. And then you start tying in all of these clauses. That's going to be a deterrent. I'm sure a lot of programs would like to do that.
Something that a lot of programs are going to have to deal with in the coming weeks is once the House settlement becomes a reality. As of this moment, you can have unlimited walk-ons on your football team. Well, according to the House settlement, you can only take to 105, which means there's going to be a lot of people that pay their own way to go to school, but they play football because they're either a legacy or they love the school, and you're a walk-on and you're a very integral part of what you do at practice. Again, those numbers are going to come down to 105. That's going to be the limit that you can have on your football roster. Here's Chris Kleiman, the head football coach of Kansas State. He doesn't make any bones about it. He does not like this one bit.
You know, off the field, I still think the industry of college athletics is a disaster. It just is. Between the lines, I think it's great. During this month of April, not our decision as coaches, not our decision at Kansas State, but the industry-wide decision because of the House settlement, because of different legality things and litigation. We got to remove a lot of kids from the program, and it sucks. I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of kids that want to be here, want to stay here, that we can't have in the program, and kids that are paying their way, kids that have put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in this place, kids that are invested academically. Now those kids got to make a choice. And it's frustrating to me because I don't understand why the number came of 105. Why didn't we kind of slowly bring it down? And I don't even know who decided it, but as a lot of us coaches talk about it, we're not in those meetings. We're not in the rooms. The practitioners, the guys that have their boots on the ground every day, aren't in the meetings that decide some of these things. I'm sure it happens in other sports as well, but in football in particular. But make no mistake, I'm not in favor of this at all.
Listen, don't disagree one bit.
Nope.
I think that is going to be the thing that you're going to hear more coaches talk about is the people that they utilize during the week, because so many times, especially when you get in mid-season, you got so many guys injured that can't go at practice. Like they might be on the side doing an exercise bike or going through treatment, but you can't, you don't have enough guys out there to have, 11 on 11 or whatever the case may be.
Well, and one of the things we talked about with the transfer portal so much is that the biggest issue it tends to create, at least for, the Alabamas, the Auburns of the world, right, is not so much the fact that you're going to lose your starters as much as you're worried about losing your depth, right? And your guys that in years past would have been your second string, that would have been quality starters at, 75% of the programs across the country. Well, those guys are no longer staying around to be your second string. They're going somewhere else and getting the opportunity to start. So it's hurting your depth. And now this is just another thing where that's going to hurt your depth from an ability to practice, having to have guys that maybe you would like to be able to rest them, but you need bodies at practice. And so guys are going to have to go. And it just, to me, that's what it just signals that we are getting further and further away from depth. And that is going to ultimately be, one of the big issues that these coaches continue to talk about, because this is now the second thing that's certainly hurting you in the depth department with these bigger schools.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that scout team members, guys that, help implement the opposing team's offense, and very integral part of what you're trying to do during the course of the football season. Some news out of the transfer portal. Former Auburn guard, former Michigan guard Trey Donaldson has committed to the University of Miami.
The U.
I get a feeling, because I saw someone last night also committed to the U. It seems that the pocketbooks are open in South Florida for the basketball program again.
Well, playing time's available, so.
That's true.
Probably just do a fresh reset of everyone in that program after.
And you know what?
Year.
There are worse places to be a bad basketball player than Coral Gables, Florida.
That's very true.
Oh, I mean, I think Miami's definitely in the top 10 in terms of being a student athlete with NIL in your pocket. Like that would be very high on my list of places I would want to go.
One of the prettier campuses I've ever been to.
Yeah, and now the Cavender twin is single, so maybe if Trey Donaldson's single, maybe they could meet up, hang out.
Okay. More from San Antonio, more from Birmingham. This is Three Man Front on Jocks 94.5. 119, Jocks 94.5, Landrum Roberts in San Antonio, Texas at the Gonzalez Civic Center, which has had an incredible show. If you missed any of our interviews live on site there in San Antonio, download the 3-Man Front podcast and more to follow, Landrum, because I understand that you've got a couple lined up right after we go off the air at 2 o'clock. I have asked Paul for us to have a little extra time today, but he told me no.
So
you're going to have
imagine that, right?
You're going to have to record those and put them on social media.
Yeah, well, our coverage here from Radio Row with our friends at Westwood One is being presented in part by Werner, the official ladder of NCAA March Madness and the official ladder of construction professionals everywhere. Conquer new heights with Werner, available locally at Truebuilt Construction Products.
And, of course, everyone wants to be on that ladder Monday night from Auburn, Alabama. Wouldn't that be something if the Auburn Tigers get an opportunity to cut the nets down in wonderful San Antonio, Texas? We've been spending a little bit of time today talking about different coaches and different people around college sports and their frustrations with the transfer portal, with the NCAA. Well, Mike Gundy, the head football coach of Oklahoma State, he was asked to give his opinion on the NCAA turning down Colorado and Syracuse playing in the spring game. And so he had an opportunity to give his thoughts on that and something about just rules in general with the NCAA.
I think we should. I mentioned it the other day. I just thought of the deal with OU. I think it's a good deal. I would like to do it. I'd like to practice against them. I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to waste my time on who's going to determine what the rules are anymore, because essentially there's not really enough of them to follow. And I'm not even sure how they have grounds to say you can't do it. Somebody just goes and does it. What are they going to do to them?
Hey,
the day he retires, that'll be a sad day if he doesn't get into Sports Talk Radio.
I mean, is he wrong?
Nope.
No. Why not go for it?
I like it.
Make them enforce it. Make them
he is
do
at the
something.
point, and he has been for several years in his life, guys, where it's, if you don't like it, tell me to go to the house.
If Fran Brown had put his football team on an airplane and they flew to Boulder, Colorado for let's just have one of these bonding trips, and we're going to go to the mountains and we're going to do some hiking, maybe some skiing, whatever. And, oh, by the way, let's go by Boulder and decide, let's throw the football around a little bit with those guys from Colorado. What would the NCAA be able to do?
Nothing.
Not one single thing.
Hey, sorry, the Carrier Dome's being renovated. We needed somewhere to practice, and Coach Prime reached out and offered.
Yeah.
It was very nice.
Use Folsom Field. Come on.
There you go.
No problem. NCAA would not have done one thing. I would have done it in a heartbeat. Go ahead. What are you going to do to us?
Yeah, and if you do, well, we've got a great legal team, and we'll see you in federal court.
Yeah.
Or district court, federal court, whatever one. You lose every time that you go there. We will see you in court.
So
that's the approach of some of these schools. So what Gundy said, there's a lot of truth to it.
And here's another thing. So I read where the NCAA Oversight Committee, during a recent meeting, they have tabled the request from Army and Navy because they have asked to play an additional game during the regular season. Navy AD Chet Gladchuk and former AD of Army Mike Buddy had jointly submitted a petition to the NCAA asking for the ability to schedule a 13th regular season game because the Army-Navy game is played 6 days after the college football playoff field is determined. That means that the College Football Playoff Committee can only consider 11 results for Army and Navy as opposed to the 12 for all the other football subdivision teams. So Army and Navy wanted to play one additional game before the CFP, which that would have put them at 12 games as opposed to waiting to 6 days after when the Army-Navy game is played. And the NCAA said, I don't know if that's a good idea. We're going to have to table it and talk about it later. What's to discuss?
Nothing.
You got two programs that want to play an extra game. So what?
Should be encouraged.
It's a service academy. Back in the old days, they allowed teams, if you went to Hawaii, you allowed them to play an extra game.
I was about to say, you had Alabama in that bowl game when they were suspended.
Alabama was banned from postseason play, so the way they got around it is they scheduled Hawaii. Because if you flew to Hawaii, the NCAA gave you an additional game because of travel costs and everything involved. And that's what Alabama did because that was their bowl game because they couldn't go to a bowl game. And then they lost, by the way.
I was about to say they lost.
Then they lost to Hawaii. So once again, it just shows you that this is a rudderless organization that has no oversight. They have no leadership. So if I was Fran Brown at Syracuse, I'd be like, see y'all.
Well, yes, and I understand it. I understand it from both sides, though. But for the same people who say, what are they going to do about it? When your school gets wrong, when you have evidence on a rival school sending a guy to video your games and to steal your signs and take away any kind of or give themselves a huge competitive advantage, then you want justice. And where do you turn? You've got to have some governing body somewhere. So before you say, all right, pound rocks, you billion-dollar organization, at least get something in place. I would hope so. Because then you think it's a Wild West. Now, there are still some schools that think about the NCAA and trying to comply, but I don't know.
Well, and one of the funnier things, too, about the situation in particular with Syracuse and Colorado was there's that interview going around Fran Brown the other day where he was talking about, oh, yeah, you know, they're not going to let us do the joint practices. And at the end, he just said, oh, well, we'll just do it next year. It's like, okay, they're going to poo-poo it on it for right now, but then we're going to come back next year, try to do it again, and what are they going to do? They're not going to do anything to stop it. So, sure, we'll give you your win for this calendar year. We'll see you in 2026 when we're in Boulder, Colorado doing our joint spring game. So it's flexing whatever little muscle the NCAA thinks that they have left. That's all that it is.
That's a really good segue. How about Mandu in downtown Homewood? Mandu Electrical Muscle Stimulation Fitness. Because of that technology that's FDA approved, you're going to get into Mandu. They're going to put you into a suit, hook you up to a machine that sends electric pulses to various parts of your body, trying to build up chest, arms, shoulders, maybe just trying to build up endurance or just overall feel better. All ages and skill levels. If you haven't been in a gym in quite some time, that's okay. But because of the technology, it's a 15-minute workout. That's right, 15 minutes of your day. It's the equivalent to 6 to 8 hours in a gym. Mandu in downtown Homewood. First visit is free. They'll put you through the workout, MANDUU.com, and always tell Paul and the gang that Landrum from Jocks 94.5 sent you.
All right, let's get to the text machine, the text line at 205-834-9450, brought to you by Courtesy GMC. Molly, got a full bank over there. What's going on?
Yeah, let's start with Brandon. He says, I have a poll question idea or a Pat Ponders idea. Who wins the 2019 Final Four Auburn team or the 2025 Final Four Auburn team?
Ooh. That is a really good one.
That's a good question. Thank you, Brandon.
That's good, yeah.
Who do you say, Conrad? Who would you take right now?
This year's team.
This year's team?
Yeah.
I think I'd take 2019. How about you, Landrum?
2019.
Probably go this year.
More talent this year. I think you could argue more chemistry and just that team was just
that team.
They were on a wrecking course.
And what people forget about that team is what they could do to you in spurts. Go back and watch the Kansas game and the North Carolina game. But something people I'm not talking about us, but conveniently forget is they lost a first-round Chumo Kiki in the North Carolina game.
Yep.
We've got a lot of texts about TJ Finley. Bobby says, bold choice for Finley to transfer to the county jail for next football season.
And for those that just tuned in, there's a report coming out of New Orleans that the Tulane quarterback, TJ Finley, who was at Auburn and is transferred to 5 other schools, that he is being held for a possible theft of over $25,000. Is that correct?
Yeah, and it's reportedly tied to a car that he bought in Atlanta.
And maybe something was in the car that was valued over $25,000.
Yeah, so we don't know if it was the car itself or something else.
Back to his name, we got Transfer Junkie Finley.
Oh, that's a good one.
That is a good one.
Josh reminding you that he almost beat Alabama.
I brought that up.
Mm-hmm.
He did.
We've got Transfer Journeyman, Transfer Joke, Total Joke, just TJ, Total Joke. Wow. Transfer Jock.
I like Transfer Jabroni. I still think that's my favorite so far.
Yeah, but I thought Jabroni, I'll be honest with you, was spelled with a
G?
With a G.
Ranger says, serious business. A TJ Finley 30 for 30 would be a must watch.
I agree with that.
Jabroni starts with a J. We're good. It's official.
Tim says, when Barrett comes on, I insist that you guys request his resignation. He's definitely bad luck.
Oh, wow. Hey, you need to text him and make sure he's on tomorrow.
You think he's not going to want to? Hopefully he hasn't been listening when we read
Well, I don't
Texas
know. It's
week.
opening day in Atlanta. I mean, he might have a lot of stuff going on. Not that he's trying to back down from coming on the show.
Josh in Huntsville says, today in 06, Florida wins its first national championship, beating UCLA. In 07, the Lady Vols beat Rutgers in the national championship. Great show today. Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, Josh.
TJ should stand for Transfer Jesus.
There we go.
The way he's crucified multiple programs.
Oh.
No name on that one.
Shocker, there's not a name attached to that one.
Instead of that, why not transfer
man.
Judas?
There you go. That's probably more fitting.
Yeah, probably more fitting.
Molly's face.
Can't read that one.
Oh, now she's going through.
Yeah,
her
I was about to say,
random
now
notes.
she's like, oh, crap.
I feel like Landrum.
We have some.
I'm reading them right now, and I'm pulling for you to read some of these.
We have some creative listeners.
Go, Molly.
Come on, Molly.
This
do
one
it.
says in 2019. Oh, I think you're talking about Auburn. Went 11 and then 7 in the SEC. They got hot at the right time. This year's team is far superior.
Yeah, it was after the Kentucky game. They went up to Rupp and lost by 25 points, something like that, and then they caught fire.
Richard saying greed and selfishness has consumed college athletics. Transfer portal and media eligibility, usually greed and selfishness consumed everything it touches. Thank you, Richard.
Yep.
Barrett picks LSU and Texas A&M every year, and he is an Auburn grad. He has bad luck. His picks suck, and he knows it, and he keeps smiling.
Wow. That was a lot there.
We love Barrett. I will miss him picking against Alabama this football season, though.
That doesn't mean he won't stop coming on and picking against Alabama.
Oh, okay, cool. I'm
That's
glad
a
we're still gonna do that.
tradition, man.
Just unfortunate that it's been right more often lately.
We might not be talking. We're
Then
probably not going to be talking about the Braves. Keep this up. Oh, terrible.
What is it, Molly? You're laughing.
It's a picture.
It's the same picture that Patrick Isbell sent to Landrum and me.
It's the Braves logo with
Yes.
just a couple of
Added letters?
yes, added letters.
That was very well done. I enjoyed that.
Let's see here. What about a 7-on-7 practice where there's really no contact? High schools do it all summer long.
Potentially. Could see that.
Okay, someone texted in, his wife is smoking hot. Never mind, they broke up. Erase pigs from Instagram. They think they were engaged.
Yeah, he was talking about TJ Finley.
TJ Finley?
I didn't know that he was almost married, I guess.
So his girlfriend was hot?
He's almost been a lot of things in life.
Or is hot?
I don't know, I guess.
I didn't know that.
I was.
Is or was?
I don't follow TJ Finley on social media, so
You're missing out, Pat.
I was unaware.
That's how you get your 20% off Amazon memorabilia.
Promo code chosen one.
That's right.
The boys are trying to get the employee of the month in trouble by making her read text. Thank you.
Yeah, Miss Employee of the Month.
Thank you.
Oh, you got Employee of the Month?
I sure did, Landrum.
Oh, yeah, Landrum's not here to see the,
Yeah,
the
I
display.
did. Aren't you proud?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Thanks.
Yes, I am, Molly.
Thanks.
Did you vote for Molly? Since you and Pat let me know you didn't vote for me. I was just making sure you actually voted for one of us.
Given by my reaction, I think you know the answer to that. No,
you vote
the
at
last
all?
one was a new employee that we had that they just welcomed. That was the last shot I saw of
That was just a welcome.
the screen.
That wasn't
in
an
our
award
lobby.
winner. He's not an award
No,
winner
that was
yet.
just a welcome.
Yeah.
But that took the place of Employee of the Month.
If you could hear all the conversations off the air Molly's been having with everybody, like cousins and aunts and moms and dads, bragging about her being Employee of
I
the
haven't
Month.
mentioned it today, though.
I'm being honored.
Molly's getting a full month up there. I only got 2 weeks. I'm very disappointed about that.
I did. I am. Hopefully, the full month will stay. Sorry, Conrad.
Hopefully so.
All right, Landrum's in San Antonio. We're here in Birmingham. We'll do some Pat Ponders next. This is Three Man Front on Jocks 94.5.
Landrum Roberts, live from San Antonio, the Final Four coming up on Saturday. We'll have the coverage right here on Jox 94.5. Auburn and Florida in the first game, and then the nightcap will feature Duke taking on Houston. Our coverage of the Final Four and our friends at Westwood One here on Radio Row is being brought to you by Straight Talk. Need more data so you can stream your jam mix on loop? Well, you switch to Straight Talk and get unlimited, real unlimited data on a reliable 5G network. Straight Talk, available at Walmart or straighttalk.com. It's now time for 5 questions that Pat writes out. We have no idea what they are. We'll try to answer them. This is Pat Ponders.
Brought to you each and every day by Courtesy GMC in Trustful. Get by and see them off of I-459, exit 32. Don't drive anywhere else. Just drive to Trustful. Best deals anywhere on a brand new GMC. CourtesyBirmingham.com. Question number 1. We assume Duke will have the most fans there in San Antonio this weekend. What fan base do you think will have the second largest contingency?
Houston, I'm not sure about. And the reason I say this is Houston, when they played Auburn at the Toyota Center, I thought that, and I know it was a partisan Houston crowd and Auburn brought some folks, but you would think because of proximity it would be Houston. But I think there's going to be a lot of Auburn fans here. So they would not surprise me if they were the second most.
Yeah, I mean, Houston would be the easy pick just obviously because of geography and how close it is for them compared to the other programs. I think you're going to see a lot of Auburn fans, but I will say this. For Florida, and this is going back, I know it's a different sport, but seeing when you've had football games here, and I know that's a little different, but baseball and last year at the SEC tournament being a prime example of a Florida baseball team that was not having the kind of season they're expected to see, and there were so many Florida fans that had driven up to Hoover to watch their team in the tournament, even though they had a really disappointing season. So I think now you're going to the Final Four, a chance to play for a national championship for the first time in almost 20 years. I'm going to go with Florida.
I was going to say Auburn, based on from what we've heard here of all the fans that we know traveling. And like you said, Houston would be the easy answer, but
I would have thought, and the only reason I said that about Houston is watching that game, and Houston did have some fans there, but I thought it would be a very, very large Houston crowd. And maybe it was just the time of the year when they played Auburn there at the Toyota Center, but it was, as far as the crowd, not as heavily partisan Cougar fans as I thought it would be.
All right, question number 2. Do you prefer the national championship game being played on a Monday, or should they shift to a Friday night semifinals with a Sunday national championship game?
Friday night semifinals and the Sunday championship game.
I agree. I don't like the game being on a Monday.
This is going to be hypocritical of me because I've said that I don't like the football championship being on Monday, which I don't. But for some reason with basketball, I enjoy it. And maybe it's just because, I mean, to be fair, it's an event that for my entire life, essentially, until the last couple of years, it was more of a, oh, yeah, I'm going to watch that because I'm excited to watch the game. But you never expected to have any sort of interest in it from an SEC standpoint or an Alabama or an Auburn kind of standpoint. And so I guess for the longest time, it was just fine with it being on Monday. So I really don't, I don't mind it being on Monday personally.
Well, but for the folks that travel, and I know they do this for TV, but the folks that travel, and I'm talking about fans.
Oh, yeah, it's a nightmare, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, yeah, you kind of screw up 2 weeks. You get out late in the week to try to enjoy some of the festivities, and if your team sticks around, then Monday you celebrate, you go to the game, and then you've got Tuesday of travel, and then you're back at it on Wednesday.
It's a big commitment. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like the national championship in football, never have, being on a Monday night. I understand why they do it based on the calendar and because of the NFL. I get that. But it's what Landrum just said about the fans. And Landrum's going to see it firsthand this week. I mean, you got all these people that's having to take off work on a Wednesday, or for your students trying to get to San Antonio, and then you're there on Saturday. Then if your team wins, then all of a sudden you've got to extend that another 3 days. And it's just becomes a whole thing. It seems like it would be easier if it was a Friday, Sunday as opposed to a Saturday, Monday.
And I witnessed it back in 2019, all the buzz, and I realized that there were more teams playing, but all of the buzz was around the Saturday semifinals. And I was still hanging out when you had Texas Tech taking on Virginia in the championship game on Monday, but just everything about it, around it, seemed to take a back seat to what we saw on Saturday. Kind of hard to describe if you didn't witness it, but there was a lot of the buzz that was out of the air.
Next question. Major League Baseball rules do not regulate the geometry of a bat. So as long as they stay within the maximum diameter of 2.61 inches. Some batters have experimented with the torpedo-type shapes for many years. Matter of fact, former Major League Baseball manager Ozzie Guillen went on radio in Chicago yesterday, and he said that he used a torpedo back in 1986, and he says they don't work. That's according to Ozzie Guillen. The question, though, is do you believe this is just a fad, or will the torpedo bat replace the original design of the baseball bat?
I would probably lean more fad. I'll be honest, I've heard a lot less about it the last couple of days when the Yankees haven't been winning, because that was why they got, that was what made it a big deal, right? Is they win and hit all these home runs against the Brewers and everyone starts freaking out. And now that they've come back to reality, it's, okay, maybe they're really not that big of a difference. So, I think there's a value to them. I think on a player-by-player basis, like Volpe on the Yankees, for example, and the way that he swings the bat, it has helped him dramatically already. But I don't think that it's going to replace the universal baseball bat anytime soon.
No. I think it'll just be a fad, personally.
Lindgren probably is trying to order some for his Atlanta Braves right now, I would imagine.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? I was dealing with one of our friends at Westwood One.
No problem. The question is, do you believe the torpedo bat is a fad, or do you think that design will take over the original design of a Major League Baseball bat?
I think I'm going to go fad here. Just based on, I think certain guys, now I do think that some guys will try it out, but certain guys are very particular, Pat, about their bats, and maybe they don't want to be that guy who's, does it get to the point where people are saying, yeah, but he was never a good hitter until he started using that torpedo bat. And then at that point, then it's either, all right, pass it or outlaw him. I think it's a fad.
Aaron Judge doesn't even like using them. He doesn't need them.
Yeah. Did you see where, what was it? Was it the Phillies reliever? It said if the hitters can use torpedo bats, the pitcher should get pine tar.
Torpedo bat for spider tack.
No rules.
That'd be interesting.
Just play.
Did your backup catcher use a torpedo bat
Matt Strom
yesterday?
said it. He said, let them, he put out a tweet, he said, let them use whatever bat they want. Let's just allow pitchers to use whatever hitters have in the on-deck circle, not check us like we're criminals every time we walk on or off the field. I'm just a pitcher, but I'm assuming better grip helps you swing better or harder. Wow.
All right, let's do aluminum bats then and pine tar for the pitcher. See how that goes.
Somebody get killed.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
All right, final question on this Thursday. Sad news on Tuesday. Actor Val Kilmer died. He was 65 years old. Which of these Val Kilmer movie characters were your favorite? Batman, Iceman from Top Gun, rocker Jim Morrison, or gunslinger Doc Holliday? Which one of those four were your favorite characters played by now deceased Val Kilmer?
I'll be your Huckleberry.
Doc Holliday, all day.
Actor, yes.
Mhm.
So good.
Whatever.
Love that movie.
Oh, he was so good.
So good. He was also, because I'd forgotten about this movie, because I've only seen it once, but his role in Heat, the movie Heat, excellent in that movie. That's a really good movie.
He was good. Did you guys remember the movie The Saint he was in?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. That was a good movie.
Yep.
Yeah, he was very good. And he was only 65, I think.
Yeah.
Really sad.
You know what, though? Given his diagnosis and what he's been dealing with, what he was dealing with, I was surprised that he lived as long as he did, to be quite honest. I like how they wrote him into the Top Gun Maverick movie, though, and they were able to utilize him.
That is today's Pat Ponders, brought to you by Courtesy GMC in Trussville. Go by and see them off of exit 32 in Trussville off of I-459.
Well, we continue here from Radio Row, and our friends at Prize Picks want to remind you, as I try to remind you every single day here on this program, that Prize Picks is a great way to interact on player projections, have fun with your friends, and you can win real money. Prize Picks, you download the app today on your phone, and you can fill out all your information on your account. When you do so, make sure you go to the promo code box and type in WJOX. When you type in WJOX into that promo code box and you get your account set up, your first $5 play on player projections, 2 or more to be a winner, win or lose, you're going to get $50 instantly kicked back to the account. That's why so many folks try Prize Picks, and once you try it, you're going to love it. Prize Picks. Download the app today, promo code WJOX, and you can be a winner as well. And coming up in the next segment, I'm going to tell you one of the matchups I've been eyeing tonight. We get people that are reaching out and asking who you like tonight in your Prize Picks. I will give that as we continue. It is three-man front, a split broadcast. I am here in San Antonio from Radio Row, site of the Final Four. Pat, Molly, Conrad there, the studios of Jocks 94.5, as we continue here on this Thursday. It's been a fun, very active Thursday here from San Antonio. Westwood 1, Jockstown 4-5 from Radio Row. We've got full coverage coming up tomorrow as well, but our coverage is brought to you by our friends at Wago. Trust your game, trust your wiring with Wago Electrical Connectors. Gear up at wago.com/hoops for your next electrical project. Choked up. A lot of greatness in this room, Conrad. Tonight, Prize Picks. Told you the matchup I was looking at. This is for Saturday's second part of the doubleheader. Con Knipple of Duke, more or less 11.5 points.
I'm going to go with more. Knipple's been on a tear lately.
I know, right? And he's got such a great name.
He does. He does.
I'm going to go more as well. Juwan Roberts, Houston, more or less 9.5 points.
Ooh, that's a good one there. I am going to go. He had 9 points against Tennessee the other night. You know what? I'm gonna go more.
I am too. Great, Conrad. So if both of those players and their player projections go more, Con Knipple 11.5 points, Juwan Roberts 9.5 points. Conrad and I are winners. It's that easy with our friends at Prize Picks. So there you go. I did get choked up. Sorry.
Way to go.
Well, it's emotional there in San Antonio.
It is.
Very much so.
The Werner ladder they brought it into our room. And it's interesting, though.
Can you climb it?
No, you can't. They've taken the steps off of the ladder.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
They've totally Landrum-proofed it for his picture opportunity. Yep.
So if Florida loses, does Olivier Roux, does he have to stick around and cut down the nets for whoever wins since he doesn't need the ladder?
The 7'9" guy?
Yeah, yeah. I will say that has been pretty cool getting to watch him cut down the nets for Florida. He's just going about his business up there.
Imagine the other things that he probably does. Like, come over to my house and clean my gutters from the sidewalk. Or
see, I was thinking more like grandma in a supermarket. Hey, can you reach that on the top shelf for me?
He could change the lights in the supermarket.
He could. A lot of great use. He has a very bright future, basketball or outside of basketball. Let's be honest.
He does. I don't know. I worry about those really tall. When's the last time you saw somebody who was really old that was really tall?
I don't know.
What are you trying to say? They have a very short lifespan?
I don't know. It just dawned on me. It just dawned on me. I can't really recall folks who, let's just say 90 plus. I know it's rare to live 90 or older, but that are really tall.
Well, let's see. The world's tallest man currently is 42 years old. He's 8'2".
8'2". Wow.
Cherish every day, guy. Cherish every single day.
He's a Turkish farmer.
He's a Turkish farmer?
That's what.
Not a Turkish basketball star.
That's what the internet says.
Oh, so he wanted to farm. Golly.
There was somebody that was 8'11". What?
Has he?
Sorry, I'm just going down and looking at the tallest people on record, and it's remarkable.
The Bible describes Goliath as 9'9".
And let's see, it looks like this man, Robert Wadlow, is the tallest person in history, or recorded history. He was 8'11". So he would have been looking up at Goliath.
Do you not just round up and say I'm 9 feet tall?
Yeah, I'm sure his driver's license said 9 feet.
Wow. You know how awkward that would look just putting on socks?
Well, I guess I should have been taller then because I don't wear socks, so that would have been a problem I could have avoided.
Landrum has been with us from San Antonio. He will continue. He's got a couple interviews lined up this next hour. Those will be available on our social media platforms. He'll be back in San Antonio there at 10 o'clock in the morning. Molly and I, we will be on location at 18 South at the Edge in Homewood. Come on by and see us. We're there from 10 until 2. We're in the main courtyard area right outside of 18 South, right next to the big Jumbotron there at the Edge. So come on by and see us. We'll have more great interviews, not only from location there at the Edge at 18 South, but also Landrum in San Antonio. Paul Feinbaum is next.